If you've ever had a Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown remaining on a parlay, only to watch him take a dive and give it up at the end of the game. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Happy Monday. We're back for the first full week of trading in some time. We'll see where we end up going here today, what the market ends up looking at. I hope that you all had a great weekend. I absolutely crushed my weekend. It was fantastic. Now I'm ready for another week here in the market. We've got economic data. We have the start of earnings season. And of course, we have a full week. It is time to get back at it. Hello and welcome back, folks. Happy Monday. We got the early birds checking in here, and we're going to start off with Mighty Soldiers Trades. Good morning, Andy. Great to see you back. Hope all is well with you and fam. Thanks for joining us here early on a Monday. Hope that you had a great weekend. I know you're ready to get back at it today, maybe even go after some of those big time winners out there. Guardians of the Galaxy, good morning. Good to see you again. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, joining us again. Good morning, Jeff. Welcome back. Paul, it's great to see you again, as always. Welcome back. Big Bees, welcome back. Hustle and Bustle, clocking in for his early shift before he goes to sell houses. Good morning, Hustle and Bustle. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Glenn, welcome back. We're ready to rip, right? Chuck, welcome back. Let's go. Matthew, it's good to see you. Good morning, as always. Sun-kissed Yogi, welcome back. Good to see you. Fairchild, welcome back. Good morning. Looking at Alpha, I do. Yes, I do. I do enjoy lifting. It makes me feel amazing. Actually gives me a natural high, which is pretty awesome. Guardians of the Galaxy. I already said good morning to you, but good morning again, boss. Glad you like the intro. 3D in the house. Good morning, 3D. Happy Monday. Hugh, good morning. Diamond Hotline, good morning. Philip, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Wiss, I know you're ready to go, Wiss. I know you're ready to go. Ashan, welcome. Arhan, welcome. And Ralph, welcome. Good morning, folks. It is great to see everybody here. Like I said, coming off a really amazing weekend. It is 10 degrees with negative wind chill here in Chicago. That doesn't matter at all. We're still out here cooking. We're ready to heat this market up and extract some gains out of it today. Let's go ahead and start with some of the news and everything that's going on here. Go ahead and share my screen. We're going to start with the SPY. Then we're going to break down some of the different news stories, get you ready for the market. Of course, we're going to have 13 joining us when we break down the movers. And we look to have Matt Malley when the session starts. So pretty full docket here today, and hopefully Monday provides us a pretty good start to the week here. Looking at the futures here, S&P futures down just over 0.5%, down just over 0.6%, actually, a little bit weak here this morning. Dow futures down 0.14%, and NASDAQ leading the way down about a full percent. 0.96% to the downside. So some red arrows after yesterday. We do have some economic events coming up this week. So Tuesday, we're going to have the PPI number. Wednesday, we're going to have the CPI. Thursday, we have retail sales. And Friday, we have housing data. So a full week here of data prints that are likely going to affect the market as well. After last week's jobs number, which sure seems like it sent the market tumbling here. So looking at the SPY, looking at where we're at on the chart, you can see on Friday we sold right down to that 100-day moving average. We were really not able to hold it. Today it looks like we're gapping beneath it. Judging by the recent action, especially the recent break of this once former double bottom and the crack of 582.30, which remember was also an upside resistance level on the way up there, it sure looks like the SPY is rolling over and looks to test the 200-day moving average. Now, it's worth noting that the last time that the SPY really started to roll over was going to be back in here. Started at about the middle of July, and it culminated with the low on August 5th. Now, this area here represented, or this day absolutely represented a buying opportunity. And I know that the big question here, the question for me, I'm assuming the question for the viewers as well, is going to be, where's the next buying opportunity? When do we get it? And so looking at this, we did not quite test the 200-day. I would like it more if on this move we did in fact test the 200-day, if we came all the way down to 556. Also worth noting, looks like this is going to be your high in here. I'm just ballparking this, so these numbers might not be exact, but a pull down to that 200-day would really only represent an 8.6% pullback from those all-time highs that we put in on December 6th. So really not even that much of a pullback. That would be enticing. Let's put it that way. I would at least try a starter position there to swing SPY long. So sure looks like we're going to roll over. Sure looks like the trend that we're in is down. Again, red arrows here across the board, and a full week of earnings, or excuse me, a full week of economic prints this week. We also have earnings starting this week. All right. Start of Q2 earnings season. We're going to start with the banks. So Wednesday before the open, we're going to get JP Morgan, Citibank, BlackRock, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. On Thursday, again before the open, we're going to get actually Taiwan Semiconductor. That'll be interesting. We're going to get United Healthcare, but then also Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, UBS, PNC. And then on Friday, we're going to get Schlumberger, Raymond James, and a couple of others. So start to earnings week. We got some economic data prints as well. Let's see what this week has in store. Ideally, again, one of the things that we've been kind of waiting for here is a reset with some of these frothy prices. Is a move down to the 200-day enough to do that? Is that going to be enough to entice buyers, find some support there? We'll see. I do think it would be enough, at least for a shorter term trade there. We'll probably leg into that, but we'll monitor that as that's going on. So this is kind of where we're at here on the SPY. It's been a long time coming. We've really kind of been waiting for this. If we want to talk about another potential level in here, I definitely do see one here. This is the low from October 31st. I do see us finding some support there. I've got that number at 569.75, just thereabout. Maybe we find some support there on the way down. But those are going to be your levels here for the SPY. We'll see how that changes not only today, but as the week goes on, as we get more and more data. So Big B is mentioning for a full week of trading. Indeed, the first full week of trading. In fact, I was asking last week, I can't remember the last time that there were 4 weeks in a row that were shortened by a holiday or some other way. Cannot remember. And I was asking some of the other market veterans that have been doing this for longer than I have. They can't remember either. So it'll be interesting. Maybe that's just kind of a happenstance thing, but it'll be interesting to see if the first full week here gives us a outsized move or something that we've been waiting for. Definitely something to keep in mind here. Okay, as far as the market overview, that's kind of where we're at with the chart here. U.S. stock futures this morning indicate a lower open on Monday after last week's steep fall. Analysts say it's, quote, a buying opportunity, but market may dip further. And if this happens and Asia and Europe markets fall, dollar hits new highs. So let me go ahead and give you that article here. Producers already on top of it. Okay. So Friday's strong jobs number signals that there's going to be less cuts. In fact, I think some of the median forecasts are for maybe only one cut this year, and the first cut likely not coming till June. So about halfway through the year. The Fed future, or the CME watch tool, has like a 90 something percent rating, 92%, 97.2%. Chance that there's going to be no cut at the January 31st meeting. So in any case, January 31st decision showing a 97.3 no cut. Now, Ed Yardeni, this is going to be in the article that I just gave you there. Ed Yardeni says the 10-year should be between 4.2 and 4.75. And as a result, this market or this market dip is a buyable dip. So I think that's going to kind of lead into, I definitely want to gauge the pulse of the group here. What do you folks think? Do you think that if we do continue this sell-off, this current one that we're in, let's just say we do get down towards the 200-day, or let's say we, just for the sake of the example, we do actually test that 200-day. What do you folks think? Do you think this is buyable? Do you think this dip is viable? Producer, maybe we ought to run a poll. I don't know if you had plans for a poll here today, but maybe we ought to run a pre-market poll. Is this dip a buyable dip, or is this one that you kind of want to stay out of the way of? That's kind of what I want to piece together here this week. I'd love to get your opinion here early on a Monday. We'll see how that changes throughout the course of the week. So, producer, let me know if we can spin that up, or if you have a better poll idea, let me know. We can go with that. So anyway, we'll see. Is this a buy the dip? Personally, I'd like for this to come back in a little bit more. I'd rather it not bounce from what looks like no man's land. I just for the sake of ease, I'd like for this to come into an actual moving average and maybe hold there. That'd make me feel more confident about the trade going forward, especially if it's going to be a trade that I'm going to hold overnight. So we'll see if we end up getting that. All right. And then U.S. Treasury yields near a crucial 5% mark, last seen during the 2008 global financial crisis. Of course, anytime you get comparisons like that, it's going to spook some people. But analysts dismisses those fears. Thankfully, those analysts are here to dismiss those fears for us. We should be in the clear. Sarcasm. Says the market appears to be overreacting. End quote. Now, if you actually dig into that article, which the producer is going to give you in the chat there, the actual quote, the full quote here, quote, it is most likely that the pressure on interest rates is being driven by inflation fears from the soon-to-be announced tariffs that Trump 2.0 will bring, end quote. This is Louis Navellier, chairman and founder of Navellier and Associates. Kind of knows what he's talking about. The market appears to be overreacting, he says. So we've talked a lot about that. We actually spent some time last week talking about that, both on this show as well as Happy Hour. There has been a number of talking heads on CNBC and Bloomberg and Fox Business and all of that, kind of talking about the same thing here, the Trump tariffs and what that's going to mean. And it seems like Louis Navellier is saying that the market is going to be overreacting. And that wouldn't be the first time, right? We often see market overreact to things like this. Remember, Trump and his administration have literally said it themselves that the whole tariff thing is a negotiating tool. So we'll see how far it goes. In any case here, Navellier is saying that the reaction to this is an overreaction, and as a result there might be an opportunity. So we'll see here on the Treasury yields. We'll see if it does continue to trade in that range and all that, and we'll see if the market is actually overreacting or maybe front-running this move. So interesting stuff there. As the U.S. Treasury yield approaches the psychological 5% mark, which it saw briefly in 2023 and during the global financial crisis in 2008, analysts seem less concerned, calling this yield convulsion an overreaction. So we'll see. Are those famous last words? Is this actually an overreaction? And does this set up for another move higher here? Would definitely like to kind of get to the bottom of that, and we'll see what you folks think about all of that stuff. Also on this Monday morning here, the LA wildfires continue to ravage LA. Our thoughts and prayers are obviously with the people of Southern California that are going through this. Really, really terrible. More news continues to come out from that, just bad across the board. We'll see what kind of damage this ends up doing, but really, really sad to see people losing their homes and all of that, and that does continue here. Gavin Newsom, LA wildfires could become the worst natural disaster in U.S. history. CVS, ticker CVS, I could actually bring that up here. Might as well take a look at that pre-market and see what that's doing. So here is CVS. You can see this recently did come up off the bottom. Stock's up by another 2.7% here. CVS supporting customers, patients, members, and colleagues amid the California wildfires. Looks like they're doing whatever they can. Let's see, support. Yeah, they released a PR about that. So more details in here on how that's going. CVS trading up here a little bit in the pre-market. We'll see if that produces a move. Honestly, the big concern here for the people who are really struggling with all of these fires and stuff like that. So we'll see if we get some more news out of there. With those fires still going on, I know we talked a little bit about some of the micro caps that were moving on this last week. Those look to continue this week. I think BAER, which was the aerial firefighting stock that we identified last week, I saw that was up here in the pre-market. So keep all of those stocks on watch here. Now that we're starting to get more and more discussions about how damaging this natural disaster could be. I remember when they talk about damage, they're talking about dollars and how much damage is done in dollars. As that continues to climb, there should be other ways that we can take advantage of that as traders, as far as the stocks go, obviously. I still think a lot of your hurricane hurricane watch list is going to come into play with these. Top one for me, Home Depot and Lowe's. I know Generac is one that we've talked about a lot with some of these. 13 had a really good call on an EIX short last week. Let's actually see where EIX is holding after all of this. Looks like it's down another 1% here in the pre-market. Let's see. So this has been a straight move down here. Now, we talked about this being, we'll see how much fault is being placed on that. I know there's definitely been reports and arrests even for arson. So we'll see how this shifts around. But EIX, one of our plays from last week, down another 1% here in the pre-market. And I would encourage you folks to keep an eye on a lot of the other plays that we had talked about last week. I would not be shocked if we continue to uncover more plays this week that have to do with either the rebuild or the firefighting down there. I think it was Deborah or Brandy. I can't remember which one. I apologize for misquoting. One of you gave us PRM last week, which is a stock that makes firefighting gels and other type of equipment. Let me get that for you here. Providing high quality lubricant additives and firefighting chemicals. It develops products that impacts critically important issues of life, issues where there's often no room for error and the job doesn't have any other second chances. So this PRM ticker also may be a pure play on that fire or on those fires and all of that. That situation is still terrible, still ongoing. As a result, we're likely going to see things in the market that are going to kind of reflect that. And we're going to try and stay on top of that. So crazy stuff. Crazy stuff down there. Really, really terrible. Hope everyone is doing all right. I did see some stuff here. Fanatics was on CNBC this morning talking about how they're going to kind of help some of those people. So that's, I guess, the one encouraging thing is whenever we see really terrible stuff like this, we do see some good out of humanity. That keeps me going forward for most of it. So, all right, let's keep moving on here. Next is going to be LULU, ticker LULU. Let's take a look at that Lululemon. Here you go. This has actually been a good move for us recently. Really, since the last earnings here, this has been pretty good. This popped here. We actually back tested that area. We did break it. So this might have invalidated several floating island trades, but here we go now, trading back up to the top. Now, the news this morning here, also good for Lulu. Lululemon shares are trading higher after the company raised its Q4 guidance. Let me get you those numbers here. Those are going to be in pro. Lululemon Athletica expects Q4 revenue of $3.56 billion to $3.58 billion. The prior range for that was $3.47 billion to $3.5 billion. So this is actually raising that guidance above the top end of the range. That's definitely a good thing to see here. EPS 581 to 585. The prior read there was for 556 to 564. So it looks like just a guidance raise pretty much across the board. This should be good for Lululemon. Stocks up 2.5% here this morning. And then there was also this ICR conference. Let me see. Management will be meeting with analysts and investors at the ICR conference on January 13th through 15th. So that starts today and goes for the next 2 days. We might see more headlines out of this as they meet with more analysts. Maybe we'll see some upgrades. Maybe we'll see some price target adjustments. But that's what's going on here. LULU starting this Monday off, giving us good news or good data, on its Q4 revenue there. So that's what's going on here with LULU. I have no active position on this. The last time that I traded this, I believe it was for earnings. It was a good trade. Ended up working on it. And I think Anne-Marie might have one of those butterflies out there. I opted not to take it here on LULU, but this looking good. Good piece of news here this morning. And in a sea of red here in the pre-market, Lululemon holding plus 2.5% higher. So pretty good stuff there. Next, we're going to talk about MicroStrategy, MSTR. All right, here you go. So MicroStrategy sure looks like the head and shoulders that we anticipated, or head and shoulders that we identified and then kind of watched. Sure looks like this is playing out, right? Looks like we actually had kind of a double top action in here on the daily that created this right shoulder. Since then, we've actually broken down, and we have taken out a couple of key levels here that's worth noting. We definitely took out the shaded area here, which was providing support and resistance. The bottom end of this was about 361. We also lost the 50-day moving average, and we've continued to move away from that 50-day moving average since we lost it. So we broke one of those support moving averages, and we have continued to move in that direction. We'll see if we get any type of support here around 300. We did briefly trade beneath 300 the last time that we tested this area. I wouldn't be shocked if we see the same thing here again today. Stock's currently at 315, down almost 4% here in the pre-market. So this would be another fall from where we're at if we do test that level. We'll see if MicroStrategy ends up holding here. That's as far as the chart goes. The news here, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy will struggle when Bitcoin volatility falls. I don't think that's news, Arthur. Says Arthur Hayes, I would not trade MSTR at all. Okay, well, thanks for giving us something there that really wasn't news. We've talked a lot about MicroStrategy being volatile. We've talked a lot about the underlying asset, if you will, Bitcoin being a more volatile asset. And now we have a stock on top of that that also kind of gives leverage, right? So we would expect that to be volatile. I don't really think that this is news. At all, right? I don't really think he's breaking anything here for us. Now, that being said, we'll see. MicroStrategy has a very long-term approach to Bitcoin. Obviously, this is the leader in adding Bitcoin to the Treasury, the whole 9 yards. So we'll see how this ends up working out. But MicroStrategy volatility is high. I don't think that should surprise anyone here on this show. We've talked a lot about that. Big B saying definitely one of my not good trades of the season. Already cut my average on it. Well, that's first of all, that's important, Big B's, because you've been having a great season despite this. So again, this is kind of a small part in everything else that's going on. Let's first recognize that. But also, you knew going into this that it was going to be volatile. I know this because you've discussed it with our group in multiple different aspects. So as long as you know what it is that you own and what it is that you're trading, volatility is something that you can plan for. And I believe it was either you or a group of people last week or the week before saying volatility is really what we want as traders, right? If we're able to capture that correctly, it can make big impacts on our P&L. And being traders, we're going to be more nimble than the average investor, and volatility can actually help in that case. So, yeah, Keith saying thanks for what we already know. That's kind of what I got from this. Like, I definitely want to hear other people's opinions on like what they think on stocks or what they think on Bitcoin or whatever the case is. Like, I value all of that, even if it's different than my own. But I don't really think there's any news here. Like you're saying, like, look out, MicroStrategy's volatile. It's like, okay, well, we get that. We that in some cases, that's one of the reasons why people trade it is because it's volatile. So not really a whole lot there. I would imagine, again, Tom Lee was on this morning. They were talking about markets. They were talking about Bitcoin. Tom Lee, they asked Tom Lee, they said, Bitcoin's pulling back here. We have a story about that where we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but I think it's a really good example. Bitcoin futures pulled back to the low of 90,500 here this morning and slash BTC. We're asking Tom, do you think that this is a good spot to buy Bitcoin at? And Tom, being the sharp chartist that he is, gave some of the other levels that he saw. I think the levels that he mentioned there were 70,000 and 50,000. Also mentioned that this is a volatile asset, probably more so than average, and then said that he thinks that 200 or maybe even 250K per Bitcoin is possible even this year. So entry here at 90,000 represents significant upside if it does get to that target. Now, I'll leave it to you to determine whether or not you think those targets are legitimate or not. But I'll tell you this, if Bitcoin makes any type of significant run towards, let's call it even 150,000, let's not even go to 200,000 yet, even 150,000 per Bitcoin, I would expect MicroStrategy to be all the rage again to the upside. So my whole thoughts here on this one is, again, this just kind of comes back down to it. Know what you're trading. If you're going to trade a volatile instrument, that's okay. Just make sure that you have a plan for it. Make sure that your risk profile is designed to handle that. Big B's, when you tell me that it's definitely not one of my good trades of the season, I know that, well, you do a real good job of defining your risk. So I know it didn't crush you on that. And I know that you'll get another opportunity here. And that's kind of what I think on MicroStrategy. We'll see if this does kind of hold 300. I mean, I am still kind of waiting for this to maybe fill this gap. Maybe it breaches these lows at some point. But I, like Tom Lee, think that there's going to be another pretty big run in Bitcoin later this year. Maybe it doesn't even materialize till the summer. I don't know. I can't tell you when it's going to happen. But I do think Bitcoin trades back up. And I would imagine that MicroStrategy being levered and having the biggest Bitcoin treasury is going to be positively impacted by that as well. So we're currently in a downtrend. We got a levered instrument that's volatile, that tracks a volatile underlying asset. There's going to be volatility. And I think that we should be prepared for that. Okay. Crimp Biscuit, can you confirm that XXII is the younger brother of XIII? Yes, I can. I can confirm that there is no link between these. We've told this joke a number of times. XXII, I believe that's 22nd Century Group. I don't even have the ticker pulled up here, but we've seen that stock move before. We actually throw that in the classification of ex-girlfriend. It is unrelated to my co-host, so don't worry about that. I'm sure we'll talk about that here before the market opens, though. Okay, next here, we're going to talk some Meta. Now, this is exciting here. Meta, we'll start with the chart like we have on a lot of these different plays. Meta here really kind of trading sideways, holding right beneath all-time highs. But if you zoom out on this chart, there are really no bad pullbacks on this. Every time that it pulls back to one of these levels and it holds it, and then it resolves higher. And actually, we saw that here at the 200-day. We didn't even quite get to that. We pulled back very, very close to it. Actually, if we zoom in here, we had what looks like kind of a double bottom here around 450. Nonetheless, we went higher. Now we're kind of trading sideways here. Meta, this has been an extremely strong stock. And although I really dislike the product and don't care much for Mark, I still have to pay attention to everything that's going on here. And Meta has made maybe I shouldn't say Meta. Mark has made some news here recently, did an interview with Joe Rogan on Friday on the Joe Rogan podcast. I encourage all of you to check it out. I have not finished that podcast yet. I actually look to do that as soon as we're off the air here today. I did get about halfway through that podcast, and I'll be honest, it's excellent. I always try to go. One of the reasons why I like podcasting so much is because these long form interviews are really a way to kind of get to know people and then get to form your own opinions on people and then the content that they're talking about. And this was absolutely evident with Mark Zuckerberg in his recent podcast here. Again, my personal bias is that I don't like Meta. I don't like the platform. I don't like how they've done things in the past. And if you've been kind of following all of this, you know that as the direction of the wind changes, so too does the policy here at Meta. And I think that this is the big sticking point for people. So really quickly, the headline here out of that story: Mark Zuckerberg criticizes Apple for stagnation, highlighting a years-long rivalry with Tim Cook, and Mark Zuckerberg meets Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, mending fences ahead of the GOP White House return. Now, there's a lot in this podcast. So again, I encourage you all to go to the source. Don't just listen to my opinion of it or anyone else's opinion of it for that matter. Listen to it yourself and form your own opinion. That's why these things are so valuable. I'll say this: I've seen a lot of stuff floating around on the internet out there that, if Harris had won the election, Mark Zuckerberg would have an entirely different tone on all of this stuff. And that might be true. That very well might be true. But if you watch the podcast and you listen to him explain how he looked at this and how he operated as he was going through it, it really kind of gives you some insight into what was going on there. And the whatever your opinion is, the good news is that some of the decisions that have been made recently, it seems like we'll be able to tell whether or not he was lying, right? His actions will determine whether or not he was being truthful or whether or not he was just kind of going whichever way the wind blows. And I think that that's going to be important, right? I think that going out there, saying what you said to as many people as that interview reached, I think that was a really good thing. And he talked about the couple of shots at Apple there. It's nothing new. This is all stuff that we've heard before. Apple kind of rips you off on the ecosystem. It's one of the reasons they're so strong. Again, none of this stuff is news to us. As Apple bulls, I'm someone that doesn't actually use the phone product, but owns the stock and has owned the stock since 2014. I totally understand. I totally get the whole thing. The Apple ecosystem is one of the reasons the stock is such a good buy and such a good hold. I can see why there are other people that are maybe frustrated with that. Totally get it. There also, within this interview, there is a lot of really good stuff on what this company had to do for censorship. Kind of gives you an idea of what they were going through as they were navigating some of those events. So in any case, there were definitely some shots here at Apple. I know that Apple is down here in the pre-market, down what looks like 2 points here, 2+ points here in the pre-market. I don't know what this is going to mean for Apple's stock long term. I want to, the optimist in me wants to believe that Meta's trying to do the right thing here, but time will tell. And that's okay. As someone that doesn't necessarily hold stock, it doesn't personally impact my position. But again, the last thing that I'll kind of say on this, I encourage you all to go listen to this podcast yourself. This was the Mark Zuckerberg episode on the Joe Rogan Experience. It's quite good. I'm going to finish that here today. If anything new happens in the part of the podcast that I haven't listened to, I'll obviously alter my opinion there. Here, Glenn saying, Zuck makes money from kids without a care. Zuck is on his annual brown nose tour. Bobby, Glenn, I'm not even going to bother disputing that. I think that you're probably right. But like I said, as far as the whole brown nose thing, it does look like he's put himself in a position, or he's put the company in a position where we're going to know whether or not he's full of it or whether or not they're actually trying to help. We're going to know as time plays out, and I'll be ready to do that. I'll be ready to kind of just go with the flow there. But anyway, check out the podcast, make a judgment for yourself. I think that's the important part there. Okay, Meta, no position here. Also, if you guys have trades on Meta, I'd be curious. I don't trade this. It does look like I was just kind of looking at the stock and what I feel about everything. It does kind of feel like this would break out. It's been stronger than some of the other stocks here in the market as the market's really pulled back. But then again, I don't necessarily want to load up a long trade only to have the entire market really bring everything back. So let me know. I'd be curious to know what you folks are doing here on Meta. Okay, sorry about the rant there. Do like those podcasts though, and this is one that I'm currently in. So just thought I'd mention it. All right, let's talk a little bit Let's talk a little bit of Bitcoin here. Bitcoin slides to 91,000 ahead of the upcoming key inflation data. Indeed, we did a good job outlining some of the different economic data prints that we have this week. And we also mentioned that we have earnings this week. We'll see how that ends up going. But Bitcoin here did pull back. Now, I mentioned Tom Lee earlier. Might as well just go out with some of those. Tom Lee mentioned that he has a Fibonacci retracement. Now, they didn't show the drawing, so I can't estimate where he actually drew that, but he said that they have a Fibonacci level right around 70,000. Now, if you take a look at the daily chart here, sure, this 70,000 area is a potential breakout area. You want to call it 74,000 and change or whatever it is. I'm not going to fight you on that. 70 to 74,000, a clear breakout area on Bitcoin before. We'll see if Bitcoin comes in and tests that level to the downside. It's also worth noting that the other level he gave was 50,000. Now, this 50,000 does represent a low, and it looks like this was also from that Tuesday, August 5th. So we talked about that August 5th low when we talked about the yields and when we talked about the S&P predictions and all of that. But this August 5th low, this represents the bottom of Bitcoin, and Tom Lee's downside target, extended downside target. Not using the same parlance that he is, so I don't want to butcher it, but basically his bigger downside target was about 50K. I'll say this, I don't think Bitcoin pulls back to 50K. We'll see. I could be wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a short-term bounce here right around this 88 to 90K area. That wouldn't surprise me. But also, I would not be surprised at all if this pulls back towards 70K. Frankly, if this pulls back anywhere near 70K and then holds that area, I think that would be a really good thing. Again, know what you own here. We know that this is a volatile asset. We've seen moves. We've seen this give up 90% of its value only to go to new highs again and again and again. And so I would not necessarily be shocked if this happens again. I'm certainly not going to be jumping out of windows or panicking or anything like that. I'll say this. If this does pull back to 70,000, I would consider converting more of my fiat into Bitcoin. I've always told you folks, my Bitcoin position has been incredibly speculative. I started this with like $350 US way back in like 2014. So this was never going to be an amount of money that was going to hurt me or that I was going to miss. And as a result, it's extremely easy to hodl. I've been holding I've never sold Bitcoin in my life. I've only bought a little bit. I've then mined some on top of it, and I've watched it appreciate. I don't want to pretend like I have diamond hands and all of this meme stuff. It's just been kind of a spec play. And my time horizon at the outset of this was, we want to give this at least 10 years and see where we're at. Bought it in 2014. Now we're in 2025. We gave it 10 years and we have 10x performance there. So really seen good returns, frankly, on Bitcoin. And as a result now, if this comes in and holds a support level, sure looks like this behaves like a lot of other risk assets. If this comes into a level that we can identify clearly off of a chart, I wouldn't be opposed to adding some more to that. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here on Bitcoin. We'll see if this level holds. I'd be curious to know, what do you folks think? We talk a lot about, is Bitcoin BS, this, that, and the other thing. What about levels? Where are you a buyer of Bitcoin? Where are you someone that's going to add to a long-term position? Are you even trading this or holding this for the long term? Are you more of a short-term Bitcoin player? I'd like to know what you guys think about that. I've only used fiat. I've only converted fiat to Bitcoin one time, and that was my initial purchase. But I would consider doing that, seeing everything now, having 10 years worth of data. I would consider doing that if this did pull back and hold that 70,000 level. So some food for thought there. Okay, some food for thought there on Bitcoin. Next here, let me go back to the chart tool here real quick. Let's talk about Moderna, mRNA. So we do have some news here on Moderna. I feel like we were talking about this one last week, maybe the week before. Maybe I'm mixing that up with happy hour. Feel like we did. Let me investigate that here. Let me just get my favorite setup here. Okay, so here is Moderna. So we talked about this right here. It was Tuesday, January 7th. That was last week. It was last Tuesday. He had a big buying volume day. Let's go back and refresh myself on what the news was there. Moderna option activity. Right, this was around the bird flu. Okay, bird flu vaccine maker Moderna shares jump after the first U.S. death. Okay, so that's what the initial move up was for. We were getting bird flu fears out of Asia. We had that news report of the first death here. Moderna traded up on that. Now, today, we actually, by the way, we also traded above the 50-day. We were able to close above that 50-day, and then the very next day, we gave that up. We opened above, but man, we closed beneath it. Now we have a second day closing beneath it. And it sure looks like we're going to have a third one here today when the market closes today. News here on Moderna. Moderna shares are trading lower after the company updated its 2025 expected revenue range to $1.5 billion to $2.5 billion, below the analyst estimates of $2.951 billion. So it looked like they were initially, it looks like they were initially looking for just about $3 billion there in revenue. That got cut by about $500 million. And then on top of that, the estimated range is still $1 billion. So the thing that I gather from this is that clearly there's less interest in the drug portfolio that Moderna has. Your opinions on the vaccine notwithstanding, the data speaks for itself. Less people are taking it. The company here is revising their outlook down, and that continues to happen. Now, on top of these numbers being revised down, remember, we still have $1 billion range in there. So there could actually still be some more bad news on the horizon here with Moderna. This stock down 19.5% here today. We've had a clear break of the recent low. I don't see support on this chart anywhere. I'm not, out here trying to spin some ripping good yarn that this is going to zero or anything. I don't really think we have a short like that, but man, oh man, tough morning here for Moderna. This has been tough performance really since May of 2024. Stock was $170. Here we are, $34, and we're barely hanging on to that. We'll see where we end up going here. Taking a look at the RSI, we are just about to enter oversold. I still think you could see some more selling here today. Maybe we do get a dead cat bounce this week. When do they report earnings here next? Let me see. Let's see what we got. We had their recent earnings was on November 7th. They are unconfirmed. We're estimating their earnings for the end of February ish. So we'll see there. What those earnings mean. We could actually get some more news before. Looking at it here, middle of January? We have an entire full month here until those earnings are due. We could still get some more news out of this one. So Moderna here trading lower. They're telling you that their expected revenue range is dropping. Bill Gates is sad. It is what it is. That's what's going on here on Moderna. If any of you trade this, I'd like to know. I'm probably going to stay away from this. The impetus that I would have to trade this would be to the short side. But after a 19.5% move here, I think maybe we could bounce. Maybe we dip a little bit more. Maybe we sell a little bit out of the open here and then bounce on Moderna. We'll see. But curious to know what you folks have on Moderna. Okay. Whew. That was 42 straight minutes of rolling through the news there. Hopefully you all found that helpful. I'm just going to kind of go through some of the stocks here, just going to go through some of the comments here because I'll be honest with you, wasn't really watching that. I was kind of running down some of the news here. Can we call Meta a JD Vance stock instead of a Trump stock? Sure. You can do whatever. I'm not going to fight you on that. You do whatever you want. I'm not sure what that accomplishes. But yeah, what the hell? I don't care. No problem at all. Zuck makes money from kids without a care. Again, you guys are all familiar with my feelings on Meta. I don't like it. Just tuning in. What podcast? That was the Joe Rogan podcast. Zuck. Okay, so I read all of those. Sorry. Zuck was born in 1984. Enough said. Hey, I was born in 1984. I don't know what you're trying to say there, but it was a good year. I have a family member that works there, so I have to be nice. Well, there you go. We don't want anyone running to management saying Gardens of the Galaxy smack talking you. That's not what we're going to try to do. XTAA props 13, props number 13. I don't remember what 13 said about that. I do remember ranting about that last week. I remember talking about that when that was trading up in the pre-market, that was junk, garbage, stay away, the whole 9 yards. And then we saw them dump an offering and trade down by like 70-something% later that day. So not sure. Hopefully we protected you. Hopefully nobody lost on that. I guess let's take a look and see where that is today. XTI. Oh, that's right. We talked. How could I forget? We also, after that, this thing reverse split 250 to 1. We talked, that was in like $11 by the time we talked about it. I ranted again saying, be careful here. Stock plunged to $4, sitting here at about 7. So I'm not sure what you mean there. All I know is that we had this one flagged from the get-go, and hopefully nobody got hurt by this one here today. Is Lion Atlas in the house? I don't think so. I don't think he's woken up yet. I haven't seen him. And normally he announces himself loudly. Haven't seen that yet. Tsunami warning advisory for magnitude 6.8 hits Japan. Okay, now that I had not seen. I do have a natural disasters column on my tweet deck that I pay attention to, but I hadn't seen that. I generally do follow those. Appreciate you, Envious. I could definitely be a complete moron, but I believe in Moderna. First of all, this is what makes a market, Chris. Nobody thinks you're a moron at all. But I believe in Moderna. It's not just a COVID drug. It has a lot in the pipeline, including cancer treatments. No, you're right. And this is actually a larger topic, right? This is a topic really for any biotech or any type of company in this. There might be 1 or 2 drugs in their portfolio that are often talked about or that we often talk about. And it doesn't necessarily mean that is, just a one-trick pony. A really good example of this, kind of unrelated to Moderna, would be Eli Lilly, right? Ticker LLY. This is a stock that is very, very well known for its semaglutide drugs, the weight loss drugs. But I mean, let's be honest, Eli Lilly has a robust portfolio of drugs that it's had for a long time. It's not just one drug here. And it sounds like you're saying Moderna kind of fits along the same thing. It's important to remember anytime we talk about some of these biotech stocks, it's going to be worth going into their entire portfolio and learning what kind of comes ahead. My view on Moderna is definitely my own bias. I've made no secret about that. If I have a personal bias, I will just try and let you folks know about that ahead of time so that you can either discount my bias or I guess agree with parts of it or whatever. I don't ever want my own personal feelings to get in the way of something that you're planning. Maybe we agree on stuff. Maybe we disagree on stuff. That's okay. That's what makes a market. We talk about that all the time. So, okay, let me see. Let's see. Keep it up from Mississippi. Daniel, appreciate you. Appreciate all the words of encouragement. Let me know if there's anything that could help you get prepared in the morning that we could add to this. 2025 looks to be a pretty big year for us trying to advance here. And I don't just mean me, I mean everyone here behind the scenes at Benzinga. We're definitely trying to raise the tide for everybody. So if you have any feedback, we're always open to that. We always want to hear that. Did you talk about PHIO? Daniel, no, we haven't. I'm assuming that that's going to be a mover. So maybe we'll take a look at that when we go over to the movers. And speaking of that, why don't we just go do that right now? In order to do that, we're going to bring on my co-host 13 here. Let's go ahead and bring him on. 13, good morning, boss. How are you doing here on this Monday morning?
Make sure that's on. All right. Doing pretty good this morning. Just had a good first series of games with the wild card going on in NFL. Sadly, Packers lost, but Texans won. So I've got my team to root for going into the next week. Looking like it is going to be a bit of a volatile week with the different earnings we have coming up. We have CPI on the 15th. We also have on the 15th potentially SpaceX with their next test flight launching, and we still have the fires burning in California, unfortunately. So a lot of different things happening, pulling the market in different directions.
Yeah, indeed. And as far as the NFL slate goes, I'll just start there. I'm sorry about your team. Not really, but I kind of am. Sorry for you. The other thing is I did hit yet another parlay. So I am just absolutely in fuego. I think I placed 8 more bets from Thursday to last night. I think I placed 8 total bets, hit one of them, and I'm up again. So just having a really good time with the NFL playoffs. Games have been exciting. We got another one here today. Obviously with the Rams game, that game moved to Arizona as a result of those wildfires. Right. So we'll see. We'll see what that ends up doing here. And then you're right about this week, right? First full week of trading in 4 weeks. Whole bunch of economic reports. Earnings season coming. So we'll see. We should have a good week in front of us here. We do have a little bit of downside here in the morning. Where do you want to go next, though?
Well, I know that folks are eager to get to the movers. We could start there.
Okay.
First one I have on the list is PHIO. How about you?
Yeah, sorry. I was reading the comments here in the chat, which were about football, which of course gets me fired up. But let me go over to the movers and I'll actually answer your question seriously. First stock that I have in the list here is SLRX. But you know what? These are pretty much the same. Let's just start with PHIO. Oh no, was that the one that you had?
Well, SLRX, that one is a merger. That one actually just recently popped up.
That's right. Okay. Now, so I'm gonna go ahead.
I was going to say I don't know where this goes with the. I didn't really say any kind of this is not getting bought out. This is 2 companies combining. So there's going to be SLRX. It's going to the shareholders will have a percentage of the shares after the merger, and the other company that they're merging with, that those shareholders will also have a percentage. I'd have to go through and look at what each company's valuations are and kind of figure it out from there. But I'm not going to try to pinpoint a number on this. We can just use technicals as to where this goes, because I don't really think that there's anything that indicates exactly what the price could be. So we'll just trade the momentum, but I'm going to understand that it is going to find the top. I didn't really cover this one because it's a merger and it's not really something that we trade, but we could just take a look at it in real time. I didn't cover this one like I covered a couple others.
Yeah, that's quite all right here. First of all, this is still pushing here. It looks like this actually just recently set some highs here. Definitive merger agreement, 86%, decoy to hold 86% post conversion, lead asset to file IND with FDA. So I don't think we have necessarily a price or anything here, even from the PR.
Right, and that's what I was saying. I would have to, look at both companies and kind of go into their valuations and figure it out from there. And that's just not something we have time for right now.
Yeah. So that's a really good point there, 13. And then I think then what that means for a trade here. So first of all, for any of you that do kind of follow this stuff, we would love to hear what you think about these catalysts and what this means for the companies going forward. However, for the traders, I think at this point with this not just kind of being a straight up price, I think you could probably use some technicals on this. The thing that we do know here is that we definitely have momentum here, right? We definitely have eyeballs on this. That only 2% of the float shorted, so I don't really think we've got any type of squeeze action going on here. On average, stock trades 341,000 shares. We trade 12 million here today, so it's going to be huge relative volume in this. 1.4 million shares in the float. We'll see. Maybe we do get a trade here. I would say just kind of lean on the technicals on this one.
Yeah, and it looks like it's coming up to a bit of a resistance area close to $5, and then once you get to about 630, that's where you see some previous price action from last year and late in 2023, where it starts to top out. The high that I have that comes up the earliest is going to be from July 23rd. That's when we got to 720. There must have been some other news. It's I don't remember what this company does, but there must have been some other news that drove it up. But 5, 630, and 720 would be the upside targets on the technical side.
Okay, there you go. We've got those targets there. I definitely think 6 would be one of them. So, okay, really good stuff on that. This should be one to watch. Good morning, Amanda. Great to see you here early. Hope all is well. Okay, next on the list here is going to be PHIO. This is FIO Pharmaceuticals here. We do have some news going on here. FIO Pharmaceuticals reports 100% tumor clearance in 2 patients using PH762 in a phase 1b cancer study. So, okay, right there off the top, 100% tumor clearance. That's obviously good, but 2 patients here is what the sample size is. So, I guess there's only so much we can really take from that. Haven't dug into the PR yet. Stocks up 120% here. If we take a look at the chart, let me go to the intraday chart here. See, we're actually off those highs. Pretty good move here, though, on some pretty decent volume. Short interest on this, 3.86%. Only 1 day to cover. Not a whole lot there. Float 1.7 million. 13. What do you got here? PHIO.
So these are just some intermediary results from their phase 1b trial. So this is not the end of the trial. The 100% tumor clearance in 2 patients, just like you, I was wondering, okay, well, how many patients were in this study or this trial? So I looked. It's in the PR. It says that there were, of the 6 that were enrolled, they had 4 with results. 2 of those had the 100% clearance. 1 had 90% clearance, and 1 showed no change. So when you start to look at the PR, I mean, it's and read into it, it's not as fantastic as it sounds on the headline, because it's like literally a third of the patients that they have got the 100% clearance. So
and here's so that's really good. That's a really good finding there. This is why we cover these things. You're illustrating it perfectly here this morning. One of the bullet points from the PR here: complete response, which is 100% tumor clearance, is reported for 2 of the patients with cutaneous squamous cell carcinoma. Partial response, 90% tumor clearance, is reported for 1 patient, and 1 patient had stable disease, having not progressed. So really good stuff there, 13. This is, to me, the key of this entire PR. Obviously, they led with the best possible news in the headline of the PR, which is going to fire up the algos, and which is what most traders are going to see. Really good digging into this one, though. I think this is the important angle of this.
Well, it's even more important when you start to look at their the number of offerings they've done and reverse splits. Well, they've only done a couple of reverse splits. They split previously, but they did a reverse split last year, 1 for 9. They raise a lot of cash. So this is a company that's having to raise capital constantly, and then they reverse split so they can make it more tradable and come within compliance. It has about 2 quarters worth of cash, from what I can tell here, and so I think that they'll have to do some kind of offering at some point soon. Remember, they're not done with this phase 1b, and that implies that there's going to be a lot more phases to come. They do have 173 million shares in the float, so this is going to be easy to move. But just keep in mind that they could also do another offering at any point, because this company does eat through their cash.
Okay, really good stuff there. So it seems like we got a PR with some good data that might be kind of dressed up a little bit, still have some cash concerns. You were talking about the offerings there. They did 4 offerings in 2023, 1 offering last year. So you were correct about them doing multiple offerings. And look, hey, when they have a history, when they need cash, there's been a recent year where they've done multiple offerings in order to dilute the shares and raise that cash. So really good stuff there. PHIO. I do think this is going to give us some opportunity here today, but the kind of theme of the morning here, know what you're trading, right? Know what it is. Really good breakdown there, 13, on that stuff. Okay, next here is going to be ATPC. Now, I think we had a form here from Friday, right? Yeah, so Friday, we had some news in the morning, and we had one of these forms. Looks like this is kind of a continuation of that. This the form there was from January 10th. The prior news here was from the end of November. So it looks like this form PRE14A stocks up 100 or was up 109% earlier. It's come off those highs here. It looks like 280 was those highs. So far here, it's done a pretty good job holding in. Volume, not crazy, but looks fairly decent. 8% of the float shorted on only 1 day to cover. 3 million shares in the float here on this. Let me see. I can't remember. ATP Corp, through its subsidiaries, is engaged in providing health and wellness products and health solution and advisory services. So 13, what do you make of this one here? Ticker ATPC. Was this on your list?
Yeah, it was, and I'm not so sure about the form PRE14A really doing much of the lifting in this price action today. I think this might be more of a relative volume play.
Okay.
And I know it doesn't seem that way, but when you look at the difference between the Friday and Thursday's shares traded, it technically is like a 5 times, maybe even a little bit more, a 5x relative volume. So there is a bit of a change there, and I kind of laugh at it a little bit because it's just such a small amount of volume on the day where we saw 5 times more than it usually trades, but it's relative volume nonetheless. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's taken off today, because we now have 36 million shares traded versus the average volume of 180K. It does have 3 million shares in the float, very easy to move around, and it does have about 4 quarters of cash. So don't think they'll need to do an offering with this company anytime soon. But that's all I've got as far as why it's moving. I think it's relative volume.
Okay. There you go. We'll see if we get any trades on this one. I've not my favorite one in the list, but a pretty decent breakdown there. ATPC. It has come off those highs. Really, again, as long as this holds 2, maybe we could get some action there. VWAP here 232. So if it holds 2 and it moves back towards 232, it might be a trade to take advantage of there. ATPC. Okay. We talked about SLRX and PHIO. Next here, Kappa, KAPA. This is Kairos Pharma. Looks like this stock was in penny territory last week. Looks like this traded up here. I don't have this one on my list. Don't have any news here on this. They were the last piece of news that we got was from last week regarding them presenting in a healthcare summit. That's today.
Right. Yep.
But they haven't presented until 2 p.m. Eastern. So this presentation due here today. There's a webcast link for anyone that is interested. I don't know what to expect here. 13. What say you here? KAPA.
It's. I don't know. I won't want to talk on the news. Like you said, it hasn't really happened yet. It seems to me like this may be more of a low RSI bounce. You look at where we were on Friday. I mean, I don't know what the news was on January 8th. I have to go and look and see exactly what that was. I don't see anything.
There's nothing. That was just the day after they announced they're participating in this summit,
and it just completely sold off. So I don't know what hit the stock, but it did bring the RSI down very low. So the very next day on Friday, we were trading around 25 RSI. I think this is just a low RSI bounce, and now it's trying to recapture the 50. So I'm not sure how much we're going to get out of this one. To be honest, I just don't know what the catalyst is or why it's, we're even getting movement aside from the low RSI. So that's all I've got with Kappa.
Okay. And then this presentation that we're going to get here today, while the market is open, I guess that's takeaway here. The chief scientific officer, I'm going to probably butcher this gentleman's name. I apologize in advance. Neil Baumick. The chief scientific officer will present a corporate overview at the Investors Healthcare Summit here today. So you're getting an overview of, I guess, what they're doing, maybe what's in their pipeline. We'll see if that moves it. That we've seen that move it before. It looks like the action here in the pre-market. I mean, this is moving on volume. It looks like this is in anticipation of whatever they're going to pronounce or talk about here today. I don't know what that is. Maybe it'll be good, but just know that's what's happening here today. 2 p.m. Eastern is the start of that presentation.
I don't know if investors really liked it because the day after they punished the stock. So there must have been something that somebody found out, or I don't know. I'm kind of speculating here because it's funny you get this headline on the 7th, and then on the 8th this thing completely tanks.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen before. Like that much, I can offer my explanation. Right? There's news. Hey, we're gonna present at this summit. I'm gonna get to Zoltan here in a sec. We're gonna present at this summit. That gets people fired up, and then the next day it's like, well, nothing really came out. That trade's kind of over here. Zoltan here, he's not mincing any words about what he thinks here. KAPA, this is quoting Zoltan here. Let me help you with KAPA. It's a bad company with a terrible CEO. Finn.
Okay,
It's
perfect. It takes a lot of pressure off me trying to come up with answers for you.
There we go. We'll see what this ends up going on, but that's what's going on here. That's what's affecting the stock here. Okay, next is going to be Sage, SAGE, Sage Therapeutics. This is one that we've traded a bunch before. Definitely. News on this one. Now, I think this is a buyout, right? Reportedly, Sage Therapeutic confirms receipt of Biogen's non-binding $7.22 per share acquisition proposal. So it looks like here's a proposal not yet accepted. The current price is actually above the acquisition price. So what do you make of this? Is there a trade here at 13?
This isn't news, really. We've known about this since Friday, but only after the market had closed. That's when this news broke, and so it's just basically taken the whole weekend for more news to come out with this. At this stage, being that we're at 761, that's above the acquisition price. I don't necessarily know I'd be that excited about trying to trade this, because I don't know how much higher this is going to go. We're already beyond the acquisition proposal price. Maybe if another proposal comes along and bids it up higher, that could be the big positive thing to wait for. But I don't even know if that's happening. If that proposal gets rejected, obviously this goes lower. So I don't know if there's necessarily anything good about liking the price up here right now, because I don't know how much of a trade there is left. You know what I mean?
Yeah, spot on across the entire thing. So I've actually watched this type of thing happen years ago when Syngenta was talking about merging with Monsanto and all of that, and there were multiple parties interested in buying out the company and blah blah blah. And these offers would come back, the price would shift around, it would spike, it would drop based on all of that here. So I've seen this type of thing before. With this one, with the stock price being above that buyout price, I don't necessarily want to say it's a short, because you're right. If we start all of a sudden hearing about another company that's interested, maybe that price changes. That's absolutely going to impact the stock here. And I also don't think that this is necessarily just a short, right? Like, oh, this is a done deal. It's overpriced here. I don't think that's the idea either. We'll see if we get some volatility on this. What were you going to say?
It just seems like this company is struggling, Sage Therapeutics, and that's one of the reasons why it's getting these buyout offers. Biogen, BIIB, I believe is the ticker. Mm-hmm. That's the company that wants to pick it up. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like it's the good big move has already been priced in, and if this doesn't go through, it's going to be an ugly drop back down to like maybe 5 or 6. That's how I feel about this one.
Yeah, I don't feel that the risk to reward is here, given the information that we have on the stock. I feel like the move, like you were kind of saying, the move is already done. We're actually above where the price is. Yeah. Maybe there will be something else that kind of comes out here with this one, but without knowing that, I don't know. To me, it feels like there's no setup here, right? Because a short doesn't make sense and a long doesn't necessarily make sense. No. So that's kind of where I'm at here with Sage. That's what's going on with it. We'll see if that changes throughout the course of the day. See if the scanner tells us anything else. Maybe there will be some more volume flowing into this name, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what's going on here. Okay. Next is going to be ITCI. This one, very, very short. There's really nothing to cover here. Intracellular Therapies shares are trading higher after Johnson & Johnson agreed to acquire the company for $132 per share in cash. Stock's currently just shy of $128. We talk all the time. One of the reasons that we're constantly reading rumors about mergers and acquisitions and focusing so much on mergers and acquisitions is for stuff just like this. You saw this company really trade higher on Friday, and now here this morning it is bought out. So if you're in this, congratulations. This stock as recently as Thursday was in an 80 handle. Stock was $82 on Thursday. Today here bought out $132. Current price just about $128. Grats if you had it. No new trade on this one.
Yeah, this is So, we've talked a little bit about how we might see an increase in M&A activity, and this is probably about the better time that you could start seeing companies do that with the imminent transition to a new administration. The current administration, Biden's administration, hasn't been very great. Hasn't been great with these acquisitions. We've seen a lot of them fall through for some with some very questionable reasons. So this is a good time to start doing it now. It's going for 130. They're asking for 132, or they agreed to do 132 dollars per share. We're slightly beneath that, so I know it might be tempting just to try and capture that $4.25, but you will be holding on to that until the deal goes through, if that's what you're after. So just keep that in mind if that's your plan for trading this, is to buy and hold into the acquisition. It's not something I really think you'd want to try to do.
Yeah, I would not advise that either. Really quick, just kind of looking at this. If we look back to Friday, you had a PR very early Friday morning saying that Intracellular Therapies settles one of its drugs patent litigations with Sandoz. Okay, so that book closed on that litigation. Okay, and then actually, if we go back to Tuesday of last week, rough day for RBC Capital. They actually lowered the price target to 108 from 112. Then we have this settlement, and then right after the settlement, we announce a buyout here. Big B's mentioning the deep pockets of Johnson & Johnson. Part of me has to wonder, were they waiting for this to be settled? This is not something that they just kind of came up with over the weekend while they were watching football. This was planned. And I'm sure that news that we got on Friday was the catalyst for this here. Also, Bank of America raised the price target from 100 to 118. Again, buyout here 134. So all that looking pretty good. Premium wise. Yeah.
Johnson & Johnson wanted this one because this has the only US FDA approved treatment for bipolar disorder 1 and 2 depression as an adjunctive and monotherapy. So that's the really big reason, I think, why they wanted it.
Okay.
Because they already went through the steps of getting all that FDA approval. It's for the only approved treatment for bipolar, and that's still a very big ongoing thing with a lot of folks in the U.S. So I think it's great that a big company's picking it up, because maybe we see more treatments come out with that. And it's already gone through a lot of the trials. So one can hope. It's a double-edged sword, those big companies.
But that's what's going on here with ITCI. I don't think there's a trade there. Yeah. Next is going to be EONR. Now, this one, I don't think there was any fresh news on this, right? No fresh news here. On Friday, we had a insider sale there. What was this day here? This was Wednesday morning, January 8th. We had a huge run in the pre-market on no news, right? So I don't have anything here in the news feed about that. We've come all the way back in. Now this is popping a little bit here on no volume and on no news and a little bit of volume. Maybe these are just traders from that recent move that we have. I don't really have anything on this one, EONR. Do you, 13?
I didn't cover this one. It's an energy company, onshore oil and natural gas property. So this might be some kind of natural gas play. And we've seen energy rise this morning after U.S. sanctioned Russian oil. So China and India and other countries that are still buying or trying to buy Russian oil have to look elsewhere. So that is raising the global price of oil right now. So that's probably why it's going, because it's already an oil name and it's lifting. It's like one of those rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. So that would be my guess here as to why it's up, is that it's in the right space that's getting it the most attention at the moment.
Okay. Good stuff there. EONR. We'll see if that gives us a trade. I have a couple more here that I do want to cover, and we're going to start here with VRME. This is Verify Me. This is one from last week. This was a great trade for our group here last week. Nothing fresh here this week. It looks like just kind of continued momentum from last week. The chart paints a pretty appealing picture here, right? We had that huge move intraday. Sing came all the way back in. Now it looks like we're trading back up towards that level. Let's see what happens here at 350. 13, do you have a breakout here on, or a breakdown here on VMRE? And can you give me maybe 3 minutes? I got to step away for just 1 sec. I'll be right back though, okay?
Sure, I'll take a look and see what we got here. So VRME, I don't see anything new about, like you said, I don't see anything new about why it's moving, but let's take a look at the chart and see what we can draw from that. So this looks like it's kind of just momentum, not even relative volume, because we've already had some pretty big volumetric days, last week and the week before. Very extended here at this point. So on the daily, we're looking at over 85 RSI. I think at this point, that's going to be something that's going to, play more against it than with it. As far as levels go with this one, it looks like if we did get enough volume, we could try and push up into, into about the mid fours, but I think that might be a tall order at this stage. It seems like just the extension of this is just a little bit too much for the stock right now. We're not even getting above the highs that we traded on the 8th, last Wednesday. So not sure about VMRE here. Let's take a look at my broker chart and see if I can pull up anything else. So it looks like it's trying to trade up to the that high from Wednesday I just mentioned on the 8th. That was 349. It's trying to trade up to that right now. Whether or not it breaks through that and goes higher, I can't say for sure. It seems like it's got a decent setup where it could print some newer highs, but like I said, this thing is already extended on the daily. If you are going to trade this, let's just make sure we got our stops set. Don't blindly jump into this thing and hoping it continues to go up or try to scalp it that way. Make sure you have, you plan this trade, especially for this one, because we don't want this to go south on us and get hurt, get anybody hurt. So be careful with VRME. Seems like there might be a run, but also a top coming. News on FIO. Yeah, we covered FIO, Matthew. That was on, let's see, 100% tumor clearance in a couple of patients. That's 2 out of the 6 that they had enrolled for their phase 1B study of their drug treatment for, I believe it's some kind of cancer. Anyway, you had 6 enrolled, 4 came out with results, 2 had 100% clearance, 1 had 90%, 1 had no change. Still waiting for the results of the other 2 patients. So not it's great news from the headline, but once you read the actual PR, you realize that it's just a third of the patients they had enrolled. So and aside from that, what are we looking at here? Let's see, feed up with MSTZ, NVDQ. Just kind of shorten some stuff, it looks like. What else are we looking at here? LII is showing me a seller on, oh, that must be something else. Looking at natural gas. What do we want to take a look at while we're waiting for Ryan to get back? Cut most of oil at 6 a.m.
Sorry about that, 13. My Cleo's brother is visiting. So I have them in a different room, and sometimes I hear sounds that I'm not sure what they are and have to check on that. Apologize for that. But okay, where do we leave off here? The RME.
I just finished up. I was talking about how it's trying to trade back up to the Wednesday 8th high, and that was 349. But being that it's so extended on the daily, I just don't know how much we're going to get if we even get beyond that 349. I just don't know where this is going to end up because we're so very, very extended on the daily.
Gotcha. Okay. 2 more on this list that I think are interesting. Let's go ahead and cover them before we get started here. First one is definitely going to be XHG. And the reason is because this was a big one from last week that we traded. Mm-hmm. Looks like we had Wednesday and Friday. This thing gave us some opportunity. Now, it did trade up here a little bit in the pre-market. It's given some of that back here. So they, on Friday after the close, they announced a leadership transition with a new CEO appointment. I didn't see anything fresh here today. This was obviously after the bell on Friday, so we were able to react to it here today. But XHG, leadership change plus 22% here today. You think we get another trade on this one here today? This was good to us last week. Maybe we get it again?
Maybe. This thing can do whatever it wants because it's just, one of those China pumps. And But the thing that I'd be a little bit concerned about is that it's in the insurance space, and it doesn't seem like insurance is really getting a great rap at the moment, especially with the fires happening. And I know it's not related to the kind of insurance that happens over in Asia, but this is the overall sentiment. I think doesn't really give this as much of a lift as many would hope for. Also, the on a daily chart, this thing has struggled to get above its 50-day SMA. We've had one attempt back on December 19th. That resulted in closing much lower than the actually it broke back down beneath the 20 after that. Same thing that happened on the 8th and the 10th last week. Could not hold above the 50, ended up closing lower. So it seems to me as soon as we start, if this ends up trading up, we need to see some closes above 50 in order for this to see more upside.
Okay. Good stuff there. XHG, I think you're right on that one. We'll see if we get a play here today, but keep in mind that's what's kind of going on with this one. All right, 13. We actually had a question about this one earlier before you got here.
XXII.
Yep. So there we go. And actually, of course, there we go. I was going to say it just disappeared there. So XXII. So we had a question here earlier. The chat asked me to confirm whether or not XXII was related to XIII. So I'll give you the opportunity. I'll give you the floor here on this one. This is, for full disclosure, XXII. This is a stock that we've traded a lot. This is a stock that we've talked about a lot. But 13, what's going on here with this one?
So it looks like this is moving on the FDA's plan to reduce nicotine in cigarettes policy. They appear to be prepared for that. Now, I'm not a cigarette smoker. I am a smoker of delectable meats. So this is about where our relationship ends, as far as this, because it's got X's and I's in the name. That's about it. Now, it does have some pretty significant shorts interest, so I think we are getting a little bit of a squeeze on that news as well. The float is very, very small. It's less than 1 million. We have 553,000 shares in the float, and it's shorted by 16.5% according to this last read that we have here. And of course, it's only going to take one day to cover, but I believe that that's why we're getting why we even got that huge initial pop earlier this morning, going as high as it is, because we were seeing a lot of short squeezes.
Okay. Good stuff there. XXII. Yeah. Smoking vapes and cigarettes, not the same as smoking meat here, but hopefully that clears it up for anyone that was wondering about this one. All jokes aside, we've actually traded this one before. This will occasionally give us some moves, but look at what recently happened here on Wednesday. This is also very common with this particular ticker. You can have some pretty big impulse moves and then some pretty big retracement moves. And I just want to caution you, because anyone that's trying to buy some upside momentum on a spike like this, you could very easily see this stock come in 2, 3 full points from where you're buying it. So just be careful with this one. This, again, with some of the with some of the other movers here, this is probably best left to technicals. We've seen some of these stocks, really kind of be weak and then give us trades once they put in some type of support area. We'll see if that happens here with XXII, but that's what we got. Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind is that they do have, 5.3 million on their balance sheet from their last reported, financial position. So with that in mind, they do burn through a good amount of cash every quarter. They might need to raise some capital here pretty soon. Let's see here. It looks like the last time they did that was in 2023. So just keep that in the back of your head, that this company is not profitable and they are going to have to do a capital raise at some point. Just not sure how soon that's going to be. This is one of those days where it kind of presents that opportunity if they are doing it at the price offer.
Okay. All right. Real good stuff. Here's some comments from the chat. Smoke Tuna, bonjour. Good morning. The only thing we smoke here is tuna. So Smoke Tuna, there you go. Well done. I know you were smoking red meat. Smoke Tuna out here smoking fish. So Smoke Tuna, The perception of French people is that there are a lot of smokers. Is that a baloney perception? Is that accurate? No judgment. Just asking if the perception that's out there has any relevance to what it's actually like over there. And then one more thing here. On that note, I'll be right back. That's funny. Okay. Poll ending soon. Okay. Yes. Thank you, producer. Thank you. That poll is ending soon. Is it a good time to buy this market dip? Get your answers in. Remember, that poll question started off from one of our stories here this morning regarding the market overview here, right? This is a analyst said that the market may dip further, but if this happens, it represents a good opportunity to buy here. Ed Yardini, one of those, he says basically the 10-year should trade between 4.25 and 4.75, and as a result, this means buy the dip. So let me know what you folks think about that. Would love to hear what you think about that. Okay. I think that's it here for the movers. I would say if there is something that we did not cover, folks, you could bring that up and maybe we can cover that. I will say, I guess one of the things that we should do, DATS, DATS, this obviously had a huge run here on Friday. Be careful with this one. This is on the backside of that move. I think this could very easily drop further today, but worth mentioning because we did take a look at this one recently. Another one that I wanted to mention just as kind of a holdover from last week would be this one, BAER. This is Bridger Aerospace, Montana-based company, or the founder is Montana-based, but they do aerial firefighting. Obviously, this one is moving with what's going on in the LA area, so also worth keeping an eye on this here today. This is higher than it closed on Friday. We'll see if we end up getting a trade from this one.
Also,
yeah.
I was hoping it would happen yesterday because I was watching the launch, waiting for it to happen. But New Glenn, that Blue Origin rocket, that was supposed to launch.
Yep.
That was supposed to launch late last night. They ended up not launching. They had to scrub it because they kept coming back with some kind of different anomalies that they just didn't have time to check into before the launch window closed. So they're going to have to delay that, which is, that's fine. But it's probably one of the reasons why you're going to see space stocks down today is that we didn't get any big space event. But we will be getting one hopefully later this week when Starship launches their 7th test flight.
Okay. Okay. So I had asked earlier, Smoke Tuna, I had asked you do the French people as a whole smoke a lot? Or is that just a misplaced perception? You wrote in 100%. So I think that perception is correct. Again, not derogatory, just trying to flesh out the accuracy of that. Also, Gerber Marant suggesting BDTX, which is not one that we covered. BDTX here, this is trading up this morning on volume. Looks like we did almost go as high as 270 here. Stock has come back in. This was not on my list of things to cover. I don't see anything fresh here news-wise, so looks like this is kind of running on no news. Interesting short interest on this one, though. Almost 19% of the float shorted as of the beginning of January here, and over 13 days to cover. Some definite squeeze potential here, BDTX, if this keeps going. Float 32.62 million, so a little bit higher than our quote-unquote butter zone, but this is in the biotechnology field. We did see an acquisition in this field earlier today. We saw a couple of other names on the movers tool today, so maybe this one is in play here. 13, I know we didn't cover this, but we've got 3 minutes here. Do you have anything here on BDTX? Should I just move over?
There was a Tip Ranks article that came out on Saturday in the morning, and it was suggesting that this is one of their 2 strong buy stocks that they or Raymond James is expecting to rally as much as 930%. So take that for what you will, but this is putting some eyes on it. So I think that's why we're getting some movement today, because there was an article that came out where Raymond James predicted this would be one of the stocks to move. And of course, it's got a huge short interest of nearly 19%. So, and 13 and almost 13 and a half days to cover. So that's very much a short squeeze candidate, and I think that has to be the reason why this is going here.
Real quick regarding that Raymond James that you were just talking about, a quick look here. Raymond James currently has a $20 price target on it. Let's see. They have a buy rating on they have an outperform rating on it. This was a new rating put on July 31st of 2024. So this is something that they had existing. Looks like they're talking their book in that news story that you were mentioning. That's not abnormal at all, but that looks like that's what's going on here with BDTX. Good mention here from the chat on this one.
Then I would just read that TipRex article, find out exactly why Raymond James thinks that this is going up 930%, and you might get your answer in there.
Okay, really good stuff here. Jay Rice, good morning, Jay. Good to see you here. I saw that you had mentioned Chewy earlier. Let me go to that here real quick. Boy, I'm having all types of issues clicking the right things in my platform. Hopefully that's not a harbinger of things to come. What's that?
Bio's going. It's rebounded off VWAP in the pre-market, trying to push up through the pre-market highs right now.
Okay, we'll get there in just a sec. Chewy here, as of this morning, some more upgrades here, right? So Evercore, ISI upgrading Chewy to outperform, raising the price target to 47. That looks pretty good. Chewy's price target raised to 40 from 38 at Morgan Stanley. That's not an upgrade, but it is a price target readjustment. Jay, you had mentioned earlier that they've had several ratings recently, according to Benzinga Pro here, since the beginning of 2025, they've actually had 3 ratings. All of them are outperform. Wolf, Mizuho. Did I just say? Wow. Wolf, Mizuho, and Evercore are going to be those firms. Really good stuff here. Chewy does look like this is going higher above 40. We'll see. That will be something to look into.
And we're open.
Okay. We're open. Really good stuff here. Really good stuff here today.
I'm watching File right now. See what this does out of the gate here. Trying to push up into that pre-market high. It just took it. Now it's starting to go some more. Let's see what happens here with this one, how high this goes. There we go. It's starting to move. Starting to move.
All right. Let me queue up some stuff here. We will take a look at FIO. Just kind of watching that here out of the gate. Let me give you those poll results here real quick now that we're open. All right.
Coming back in.
Really quickly, is this dip buyable? 51% of you, maybe 52% if you round up, says yes, definitely. 48% of you said no, I would stay away. It looked like several of you folks in the chat were saying, I need more data. Looks like you were trying to pull a Fed and be data dependent. That was not one of the options, but there's your results. Nearly 300 of you voted in that pre-market poll. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, what do we got?
Well, I'm seeing
SLRX. Looks like SLRX bounced right off the VWAP so far.
Yep. FIO was went up to 470 and pulled. VMRE, that's pushing right now as well. 355 is the high. And BDTX also trying to push up to the pre-market highs of 267. Current price is 243.
Okay, SLRX. This looks like this is going right for that pre-market high. I've got that pre-market high here at 523. What do we think? Do we think that breaks? There we go. And through SLRX, through that pre-market high, it's coming back in. All right, so nice little top break out there. See if this gets some more push. I'm not in this. I just scalped it through that high there.
Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like VRME. If it continues to push up after we get through this poll, maybe it gets as high as 428. That could be a spot. Let's see here. We got BDTX pushing back up again.
SLRX, big pull here. So nasty move there. BDTX, you said?
Mm-hmm. That one's still trying to push up.
Sorry. Got it.
No worries.
I'm having I misclicked here on my
Smoke Tuna mentioning ATPC. Christopher Anthony mentioning PDYN. We traded PDYN.
Oh yeah, PDYN. That's at this point, that's an ex-girlfriend, isn't it? PDYN.
Oh yeah. Yep. Relationship's over.
Sorry, I'm cleaning up. I misclicked a few times here in my prop account, and my layout is slightly different, and that distracts me. So let me just take a sec to clean this up here. 13.
File pushing says Crow
Okay,
got
let me
as
bring
high as
that up.
476. Let's see, what does the SPY look like? Because I already saw that we had gapped down in the pre-market beneath the 5% level, so that was a welcome sight. And if we get a 10% correction, we're going into the 540s. That would be a much better dip to buy if you were going to be a dip buyer. SLRX now beneath VWAP. This looks like it's rolling over.
How on earth did I do that? Okay. Okay.
So FIO, VRME, and FIO and VRME, those two are trying to recapture VWAP. Looks like FIO just did. BDTX trying to hold above VWAP.
You know, this FIO action here, this to me looks like it's going to try and make a move towards 5. I wouldn't be shocked if this pulls like we already saw from SLRX, which by the way is barely trying to hold on to 4.
How about 515? Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Okay. We'll see if that's what we get.
Guardian of the Galaxy. Costco sells gasoline and it's normally the first to lower prices. You also get 4% credit back on the gift card. Sounds reasonable. Look, that Costco credit card is the best, in my opinion. It's what I use. Just filled up this weekend, by the way. Here we go on FIO. Here we go to 5. Well, if 515 was the level that you had right there?
Yep.
Okay. See if we get 5 and then 515. Those are going to be some of your potential sell targets if you took this trade. Mm-hmm. There's 5 that printed. Okay, so it looks like they pulled it off the 5. Let's see if I see anything. I've got 513 as the high print right there. Wow, that's amazing. That must have happened fast. 13, I didn't even see that on my screen here, but my broker or the prop firm has the high of day print here at 513, 2 cents off your level. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. It did pull off that level here.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to tighten it up though. 2 cents. We can't be having that gap. Hustle and Bustle asking, what is the next level down in NVIDIA? Give me a second. I'll tell you what I've got here. Looks like you have some support around. It looks like it's around 127 and 70 cents. That seems to be a pretty good support area. Got support from the last time it was down here in mid to late December. Rebounded off that quite nicely and went on to make the double top. So that would be the level I'd be watching for. 127.7 or 127.60 to 127.75. How about that?
Okay. SLRX tried to recapture the VWAP and was rejected there. I'll be honest with this one. I think we've got some weakness here until something changes on SLRX. That happened fast.
Yeah, this MACD isn't looking great. This implies that it might try to find some support around 3. We'll see if that's what we get with that one. FIO continuing to push higher. 519 is the high. It's got a big wall at 520. If it gets through that, which just trying to do, let me see what I've got after that.
While you're looking that up, BAER, this did fall out of the open, but is trying to bounce there. I wouldn't stick a fork in that yet. I don't think that's done. Kappa, this did go back towards that pre-market high, but unable to break it and pulled off of it. SLRX did recapture the VWAP right now. We'll see if that's got some strength.
Yeah, FIO's got some pretty high up levels. So unless this thing gets really crazy, I don't know that we're going to see the kind of upside that it implies we might. So if we were going to see, if this thing is going to take off and go to some of these other levels, we're looking closer to like 975 and then 1610. So I don't know that we'll get that. I think we need to kind of get through some other levels first. Like, let's see if we can get up to 8. If we can get up to 8, that might be a good indication that we could see some of those crazy levels.
Okay.
FIO 525 is the new intraday high now.
Bitcoin looks like that pulled right out of the open, 89,525 on the futures chart there as the low that it bounced from.
SLR is trying to rebound, but it has not recaptured VWAP yet. It needs to get back above VWAP before I'd be interested in taking a trade here. So be careful. We need to see this VWAP get taken out.
Chewy, by the way, we just talked about that with a potential or with an upgrade here and some of the recent upgrades in 2025. Chewy deleting all of the pre-market gains that it had here today. This is actually taking out Friday as well. We're down to, actually, we had a little bit of a rip there on Wednesday. So Chewy moving down here. We'll see if this holds 35, 35.50. I don't have a Chewy position. I am interested in this, though. I am kind of stalking this one.
Let's take a look at Chewy here and see where there's some good entry levels at. I'm not going to be picking this up or anything. I'm just kind of curious to see what the charts look like for this.
Okay, while you're doing that, Raj here asking me, PDYN 13 and Ryan, what do you think for a swing here? So this is an interesting question. So I love that you had this is an AI name that's recently run. I love that you had patience enough to wait for this to really kind of show that it's putting in a bottom. And it does kind of look like that, right? Like we've had a whole bunch of these down candles. We did have this one that kind of looked like a reversal candle, but maybe we traded sideways here. So I'd say, if this can really kind of hold $7 here, you do have a potential swing here. I don't feel confident about that, Raj, but I think the spot here, I think you picked a pretty good spot. And if I were going to use the area here, I would use 7 as your potential stop area. And I maybe be looking for 14 on a potential swing there. Anyway, 13, what do you got for us?
So with Chewy, this is still in a pretty good uptrend. I mean, ever since we had a golden cross back in the summer, it looks like late June, this thing has been in a pretty good uptrend as a result. You can draw a trend line starting from the May lows of last year and drawing it up through the October lows. And that's the trend that we're basically in right now. And it's been holding up pretty well. Every time the weakness presents itself, it gets bought right up and goes on to go higher. It looks like it's trying to go beyond 39 because that June 27th high of 39, I think that was when Roaring Kitty may have, did his whole thing that caused the stock to move. I think that's where the price is trying to head back up towards and take it out. This thing looks like it's really turning around and trying to recover. So we can start looking at these upside levels as potential targets. And I think 39 is going to be the next one.
Yeah, I think that's really good stuff here. What I'd be liking or what I'd be looking for the most here for a swing is maybe a pullback to one of these levels. It does look like it's kind of at a pretty decent. This is not a terrible area for a starter here. You had correctly mentioned the Golden Cross. This came shortly after that real big earnings. We talked about this on the show. This earnings really seemed to change things for Chewy. It traded terribly. It was in a downtrend you can see for a number of years here. Things really seemed to change. The stock itself seemed to trade different after this earnings print. Shortly after that, we got the Golden Cross. The rest here is history. I am also looking for a position here on Chewy. Like I said, I'd like for this to move above 40 towards a 50 handle. I'll let you know if I get that filled.
And Morning Line Atlas, he's mentioning EIX again, and this is now its third big move down. Ever since it broke the trend line, I had to draw before when the fire started happening. This thing is approaching some 2023 levels. The lows from October that year. We're getting a move in VRME again, it looks like.
Okay, let me bring that up here. Let's go to an intraday chart. VRME looking like they're right there, right? Man, as soon as I went to it, went right through that intraday high there at 360. It looks like 367 the high print. By the way, PHIO, which we were watching earlier, this is pulling back to its VWAP. VMRE, I'm looking at that 367, your day high. I do see some size out there, but now they just brought in a big offer there at 358 that got eaten. So maybe this does try and go higher here. VMRE, VRME, excuse me.
FIO might be next. That's trying to reclaim VWAP. Just be careful. I think it was Crow that said that he's not going to be in these for very long, and I think that's a very good strategy for the market breadth that we're in right now. Market's very weak, so some of these day trades that we're doing might not get the follow through. We might not get the anticipated move that we're looking for. So make sure you have your stops ready. Make sure you're protected when you do these trades, because they could turn south on us on a dime.
Guys, Santa here. So this is a really good mention here. We
Nice.
popped a little bit out of the open, came back in. We launched off the VWAP there. Volume was the trigger. So I didn't have this one on watch, which was stupid, frankly, on my part, because this was a really, really good trigger for a trade here. As soon as we saw that volume pour in, we traded right back up to that high. We snapped it here at 370. This thing printed above 4. Trying to hold there at 4. SANA. I didn't hit this one, but this was a good setup. Grats to you guys that hit this one. Looks like Crow, you were on this. And then all the folks that are talking about PDYN here. I know Raj was asking me for a swing here, which I kind of gave you. The intraday action here on PDYN looking pretty good, right? Pretty good. Nice little move off to 7.25 area. Just shy of just over 850 here. We'll see if that prints 9.
Looks like VRME is still trying to. I mean, it got to 370. Still looks like it's still trying to push higher. I don't know how much is left in this. Let me see where this goes. Either 425, somewhere between 425 and 430 is where VRME might end up today. So mark that off if this is what you're trading.
I'll tell you what, this action 13 looking pretty good here, right? Look at these series of higher highs here. Sure, the stock pulls back, but it looks like it just pulls back to VWAP and then sets up for another move higher. Volume corresponds with these moves. All of this, looking here we go on VRME. This is pulling back here. Let's see if we get to that VWAP and hold. If it does, I gotta say we might have another setup here. VRME, I've got that VWAP 332. Looks like this. Where did this come to? Okay, so I actually had that VWAP 337 in my broker. We did actually tap it right there when looking at my broker there. So wow. Okay, VRME. Looks like we're trying again.
I don't know if SLRX is going to be able to do it. It's a break into a new intraday high, but it's certainly trying to push up to the 547 print that we had this morning out of the gate. The upper shadows just aren't looking great. So I'm just saying cautiously, take a look at it if you're looking for something to trade.
Okay, VRME, they brought a bid in here, 350. That is trying to support it right now. I'll tell you what, this pullback, we didn't quite get to the VWAP here in Pro, but on my broker, man, we tapped that VWAP. That was another one. This makes 1, 2, 4 VWAP trades here that worked so far on VRME.
Wow. Crow, I'm not going to, argue against that. It's probably true, but I think that part of why DXYZ is down is because New Glenn didn't end up launching yesterday, and I think that's affecting the whole space sentiment a little bit.
Now, let me ask you, just as kind of a broader theme here, with the space launch that got scrapped, it was weather related. It's not a big deal, right? It's not as if something.
I don't believe it was weather related. I think it was just when they were going through the final preparations to launch, they ran into some anomalies that they just couldn't address before the launch window ended.
Okay, so that's more of like a safety thing, right? Like it doesn't seem like this is like a systemic problem or anything like that. And so this is why I'm asking that. This is where I'm going with that. When we get news about launches getting canceled like this is what happens when you're launching stuff into space. Sometimes you have to change the window for whatever reason, weather, anomalies, etc. Does this almost represent a buying opportunity? Because I don't think they're going to stop launching rockets. You're getting a little bit of a pullback here. I'm almost wondering if these news catalysts are buyable or not.
Well, I still think that space is going to be a very big theme this year because of all.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, all the different countries and companies that are going to be sending up, rockets and satellites and all different kinds of stuff this year. We're going to have the most launches that we've ever had in the entire history of the world. So this year, So space is going to be a pretty strong theme, and it might be a good buying opportunity, like you said. I just, I'm not trying to catch the bottom, but I want to see some evidence of bottoming before I start to jump into some of these
Sure.
space themes.
Sure.
So
At this point, I'm trying to look for pattern recognition. So if we
Mhm.
see similar types of news catalysts, whether it's a launch got scrubbed and the stock moved down, this, that, and the other thing, we can take advantage of that. So we'll see. We'll see if that plays out here. Real quick, while we were having that discussion, KAPA, this did run to some new highs there. Looks like it stopped right at 240. And VRME, that trade off the VWAP. I'm sorry I didn't take that one. What a bummer, but that one worked. I'd be selling some right here off that VWAP trade. Again, that was at 334. Here you are at 367. You got 30 plus cents here in a hurry.
Nice.
If you took this one. Really good stuff on VRME.
Yeah, and folks like Line Atlas and Crow, you're talking about Cooler very cheap now, and Rocket Lab not bad. No, I absolutely agree. I think both those companies are great. I think that Cooler's share structure kind of sucks, but they're not going to reverse split. The CEO said he's not. And then Rocket Lab, I've made the case for this one a lot of times about how as soon as they get their Neutron rocket online and starting to send up products, that they're going to really start to take off, and they are. They're tied to the U.S. government. They have the U.S. government has their own launch site specifically for the Rocket Lab company in Virginia, I think is where it was. But this is Rocket Lab's going to be great. It'll grow into its valuation. It's just going to take a little time.
Real quick here, MicroStrategies. Just taking a quick look here at Bitcoin. We talked about that move down here that sent it to 89,500 on the futures chart. We bounced hard from there, and we're still bouncing. MicroStrategy showing you the same type of action that Bitcoin is showing you. We talked a little bit about MicroStrategy earlier. It looks like this is bouncing. I would imagine that some of the other Bitcoin names are doing the same thing. Yep, Mara, same deal here. Moved lower after being lower in the pre-market. Now we're starting to bounce. See if we get higher here. Just know that that's going on with Bitcoin here. Izzy mentioning Uber. You've been on that you've been on Uber since last week, frankly. Uber had a nice little move up on Friday. We were weaker here in the pre-market, a move above Friday's high right here out of the open. Good stuff on Uber. And you're right. Should have followed you on this. Looks like almost $2 here off that $65 low that we had right out of the open. Did we have news here on Uber, or is this it? No. Okay. Yeah, nothing new here. It looks like this is just kind of a continuation from last week. But shout out to you because been on Uber recently.
So
Maybe this is a bottom. Yeah.
DJT is an interesting one to keep an eye on. We do have the inauguration a week from today, and this has been trading kind of in a channel right now between about 33.40 to 36.45. So that basically a $3 range there is where most of the price action has taken place. Can't seem to get above or hold above 38.50, but I believe once we see some closes above 38.50, it's going to be taking off higher into the 40s, and we could see a run up into that inauguration as well. In which case, I think that would be a sell the news event.
Yeah, it's good stuff there. I expect DJT over this week and next to be volatile. Remember, just kind of looking ahead at the calendar, I know one of the things we talked about earlier today is that this is the first full week of trading in 4 weeks. This will be the 5th week. We've had 4 weeks truncated by holidays. But next week, January 20th, Inauguration Day, the market is closed in observance of MLK Day. Yep. So we're all of this stuff, that is to say that the actual inauguration day itself, the market's going to be closed. Mm-hmm. And so place your bets for that.
Either sells off Friday or Tuesday.
There you go. Now, DJT here, this is actually, I just drew a trend line here. This goes back to the middle of December. This is popping above the trend right now, DJT.
We got the breakout in PHIO. That was about 15 minutes ago. I was saying that this could make this move. Finally got it. Went up to 568. Let me see where this. So that it broke through that level that I had. Where this goes next, I think I said this has some really dumb levels if we get it above a certain price. Let me just reiterate what those were. Just give me a second. Yeah, this I was looking for, getting up to, in the high eights, and if it did, maybe it goes into the it doubles from there and goes to 16. But that's a very, very unlikely situation, even though we have seen that very price action happen before. So it wouldn't be completely out of pocket, but.
Buffalo by Bicycle. Appreciate you mentioning this here. I had CNBC on, but I have it muted and I wasn't paying attention to it because I was paying attention to y'all folks instead. Looks like we're getting a headline here courtesy of CNBC. Cleveland Cliffs partners with Nucor in a potential bid for U.S. Steel. That's going on right now. CLF, ticker CLF for Cleveland Cliffs, up about 2% here. Quote, the offer would be in the high 30s per share. Cleveland Cliffs would purchase all of U.S. Steel for cash and then sell off the Big River Steel subsidiary to Nucor. U.S. Steel, of course, ticker X, jumping on that report here. This stock up 7.3% here. Current price about 37. So this looks like right at the price where that buyout would be.
That's awesome. I think that checks all the boxes about everybody that was concerned. Here we go with PHIO. Like I said, don't know where this goes. I mean, like I said, 8 or somewhere between 8 and 9 might be where we get this initial reversal. But if it breaks through that, then we could see some really dumb levels like 16 or higher. But this, Crow, the whole thing with this one that, kind of has me a pause a little bit with this one is it was only a third of the 6 patients that had the 100% tumor reduction. And there were 2 others that had 90 and no change respectively. And then we just haven't got the data on the others yet. So
it was the way they worded it, right? Because clearly they had more people in there and they told you the best news right in the headline. If you dive into the PR there, the bullet clearly spells out that it was not as great as the headline led on. So I'm with you on your concerns there, 13. We are getting really good. I mean, stock's up 230% here. So let's call a spade. And we actually did get a decent setup here on a volume push, which is what we look for every day, whether the stock's garbage or not. So
yeah, just remember, this still is a very expensive endeavor that these biotech companies have to endure. So, it's going to eat through the cash. And this is phase 1B. So they still have 2, 3, FDA approval, bringing it to market. Lots of very expensive things have to happen in order for this drug to actually be profitable. And that's a ways away. So this upside movement is going to be very limited.
Okay.
SPY, on the other hand, this is trying to rebound.
You're reading my mind. That was perfect, 13. You're absolutely reading my mind. I saw Lion mention that Bitcoin was rebounding. Indeed, that Bitcoin bounce that we already talked about looks to be continuing. But I also looked at the SPY there in 13. We're above the pre-market highs. So what do you think? Do we continue to trade up here, or do we retest maybe some of these lows?
So we are coming up to a previous all-time high of 577 and 71 cents. That previous all-time high was established on, looks like this October 9th. So that is the previous all-time high we're trying to get through here. Now, if we do that, then what we have to contend with next is the 5% pullback level, where we were getting support on Friday before we fell through it today. That level is $578.62. I think we'll get a rejection there.
Okay. Okay. Good stuff there. Stay focused. Good morning. Happy Monday. Stay focused. I got to tell you, man, of all of the teams this weekend, Bills looked the most confident, right? They took a very hot Broncos team and they put them in the hurt locker there. Really good stuff for your Bills. It's good to see you this morning. Happy Monday. This week will be extremely choppy. PCE and PCI and a bunch of Fed people are bringing the market down. So, I think the same thing. Stay focused. One of the things that I had mentioned here, we did kind of take a look at some of those economic events. We do have the PPI tomorrow at 8:30. We have the CPI at Wednesday at 8:30. Retail sales on Thursday. Jobless claims on Thursday. Philadelphia Fed on Thursday. Housing data on Friday, and then the Fed members that you were talking about on Wednesday, Barkin, Kashkari, Williams, and Goolsbee throughout the day on Wednesday. I agree with you. This first full week back is going to be choppy. I'm actually encouraged by the action that we're seeing here today. 13, you've done a great job outlining some of the real key levels that we have to look for SPY. Let me ask you, maybe producer, we're going to make you earn your money here today. I know you did a pre-market poll. Let's do a new poll right now. Does SPY finish the week higher, lower, or flat? 3 choices, higher, lower, or flat from right here. Let's call it 577. That's where we were at earlier today. I'd be curious to know what the group thinks on this choppy week.
Yeah. Well, first, PCE comes on January 31st. It's the PPI and CPI we get this week. But that's something that we should be paying attention to and looking forward to, because that's the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. So that comes on the 31st. That's after their rate decision. So we've got a lot of catalysts from just this week on to the end of the month. We've got all these earnings coming up, really big banks. I think that's going to be really heavily scrutinized. That's going to be on the 15th when we start getting that. We have CPI, we have the launch, we have fires still going on. Next week we have Trump inauguration, another short week, and we have the rate decisions coming as well.
So, like I said, I want to get this. Harry's asking, who is the producer? I know I keep referring to producer as producer. We have a great team here at Benzinga that works behind the scenes. The producer that I'm referring to is Michael. He does a great job helping me out every single day. So be nice to him, okay? Be nice to him. But let's get this poll up here and let's get voted that. Let me know when that poll is up, because I want to vote in that too. By the way, while we were discussing that, ATPC popped on volume into an upside halt here. This corresponds to the day high as well. And Jacob Bear, teammate Jacob Bear here at Benzinga, saying it's game day, Skull. We're going to have some Skull chants down there in the desert as the Vikings play the Rams here. Jacob's letting you know who he roots for here in case that was unclear prior.
Yeah, there was a comment here, NDS, a lot of natural disasters happening. Yeah, so aside from what's going on in California, there is a lot of snowfall happening across the Midwest. That in areas that don't normally get that kind of snowfall. So could see some other power outages elsewhere. In which case, I still think Generac is going to try to turn around here. Riding the 200-day SMA pretty nicely. Need to see it recapture the 20-day SMA though, in order for me to get super excited about the upside. Keep an eye on PHIO. This might be trying to make its next leg move up here.
Okay, here we go on PHIO. You can actually see the formation that we've made here, looking pretty good. All right, looking pretty good. All right, folks, it is that time. Let me flip over to my main chart here. Let's bring up the SPY. It's 10 o'clock on a Monday. Folks know what that means. It is time for our special guest. Let's go ahead and bring on Matt Maley on this Monday. Matt, good morning. Happy Monday. Let me just start off here with some of the news over the weekend. I did hear about the Vrabel news. I'm sorry that the Patriots did not opt to hire you as their new head coach. Vrabel, the Patriots are back, aren't they?
Well, we'll see. They got a good quarterback, a good young quarterback. So, and Vrabel has certainly had success in the past as a player and a coach. So, hopefully, this will be the beginning of a new era. So, a renewed era for the Patriots. I mean, it was tough, very, very spoiled for a long time when we had Tom Brady. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Good stuff there. We'll see how that ends up turning out. Now, I do have some questions about the broader market. I definitely want to talk to you about the jobs number that we got last week and what that means. But I'm sorry, Matt. We're going to have to start with RGTI. We talk about how you do a chat alert service here with Benzinga. It's absolutely awesome. We comment on it on a regular basis here. But I really, really feel like we need to talk about this trade here a little bit. Can you just talk a little bit about what people can expect and what you saw here in Rigetti? This was a huge quantum runner. I saw you booking gains 1,800+% last week. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the quantum computing thing, it was a bubble. I mean, I would say a bubble, kind of a short-term bubble, but the euphoria was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they had some positive comments. again, don't get me wrong. I understand why there was some bullish backdrop to what the stocks were doing, but they ran in a ridiculous manner. And then we just looked at the, some simple technical readings. We looked at the relative strength index, the RSI, the relative strength, the weekly RSI on Rigetti got to 98 last week. I had never seen anything that overbought ever. And so we came in and we bought the puts on the stock. And like you said, we sold some of them up 800%, some up 1,200%, some up 1,800%, and some even as high as 2,000% gain.
Good Lord.
And it's just, again, you try to take advantage of what the market gives you. You can't make the market do something, but take advantage of the great situations. We also made some real nice money, several 100% on SQQQ calls again last week. And in fact, our SQQ calls for this week are already up over 100%, so more than doubled our money there. And we'll see what happens in the marketplace. We saw a little bit of a bounce here first half hour, which doesn't surprise me. Bonds are trying to stabilize a little bit. We'll see what happens as the week goes on. But there's just a new, the situation changed in the marketplace back in mid-December when the Fed Reserve Chairman Powell confirmed that the Fed is not going to be as hawkish. Not going to be as dovish as the market had been pricing in. Mm-hmm. And of course, we've gotten more evidence, including Friday's employment report, that they might not even cut at all anymore, any further, I should say, this week. So I'm sorry, this year. So it's a situation where we have to reprice risk. We have a very expensive stock market, 22 times earnings. If interest rates are going to stay high for longer, and we say higher for longer, well, mm-hmm. even if they don't go higher, people are saying 5% on the 10-year, even 6%. A lot of people are saying 6% is easy to hit this year. Even if we don't get that, the fact that they were going to remain high makes it very, very difficult to justify today's valuations. And of course, if they do push towards that 6% level, it's going to be even tougher.
Okay, real good stuff there, Matt. And congratulations on that Rigetti trade. They've been just really awesome stuff. Folks, we talk about it all the time. If you want to get all of Matt's trade alerts and trade along with Matt, please talk to my guy, Rodrigo. I put a link to the webinar there in the chat. Sign up. You'll be happy that you did. Real quick here, Matt, you were talking about the 10-year there. Add a note here. Ed Yardini was saying that the 10-year looks to stay between 4.25 and 4.75. So maybe it's a buy the dip. Maybe this is a dip that should get bought. You got any feelings on that?
Yeah, this is something I've been writing about for the last couple of days. I didn't realize Ed Yardini had said that, but I think it will probably eventually push above 5%. But we'll have to see what happens. But yes, it is getting over. In other words, the yield is getting very overbought, so therefore the price is getting very oversold, and also sentiment is becoming very, very very, very bearish. You look at the futures traders, the sentiment on futures traders is down to just 10% bulls on the DSI, Daily Sentiment Index. That shows that everybody's on one side of the boat. And we get this the CPI number coming out on Wednesday. That could be something that gives us one more flush if it's a bad number, and then we get a bounce, or of course if the number's in line, I think it will give us a relief rally. So yes, I do think that we'll get a bounce here in the bond market, and it's something we're actually betting on. We've been in our chat room, and again, it's more of a short-term play, but I do agree that it's getting extended on a near-term basis.
Okay, real good. That's real quickly. We talked a little bit about choppy markets earlier there. It looks like you're seeing a little bit more. Really quick, before I turn it over to 13 to ask you a question, we had a question here from the chat. Matt, I know with you missing out on the Patriots here, are you looking into buying the Celtics at all?
Well, maybe after that, some of these trades we've had, because we had 1,000% gain last month, now 2,000 this month, so it's working out real well. And again, if you please just contact Rodrigo if you'd like to join the chat room. But the Celtics, it's funny now, because the Cleveland Cavaliers are looking like the team to beat now. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But it's the one thing I'm going to be very fascinated in, though, is going to be what people are going to be doing in the private equity space for college sports. That's going to be seems to be the next big window for opportunity in the sports area.
Indeed. That might be a theme we'll take a look at it too going in the future. I'm wondering that myself. All right, 13. Enough joking around about sports. What do you got for Matt here?
Just had one question that he kind of answered already when with regard to CPI. It seems like with the sentiment already turning bearish after the jobs report, it seems like we're starting to price in a potentially hot CPI number. So would you think that there's maybe more of a upside to if we get, a not so hot CPI report versus if we do get a hot one? Do you think we see maybe more of a muted sell-off if it's hot and maybe a big strong rally if it's not hot?
I think we will get it in the bond market, and if that happens, it will probably, lead the stock market to bounce back on a short-term basis soon. I think the stock market is going to have to reprice risk, and I think that we have some real issues to be looking for as we move through the first quarter. But it won't come in a straight line. The one thing that would be that we also have to put out there is that earnings season starts on Wednesday as well. We have J.P. Morgan and a bunch of other banks, Goldman Sachs, that are reporting earnings. This earnings season has to be good. It has to be actually really good. I mean, it doesn't actually. It has the guidance has to be really good because 14% earnings gains sound great, but it's not great. We need actually better than that. We need something like 25 to 30% gains to justify today's valuation levels. The stock market was trading at 16 times earnings or 15 times earnings, 14% earnings gain would be great. But we're going to need something more than that. We pulled forward those earnings growth in 2023 when the market rallied 25% on zero growth. So now we need even better earnings growth. So that's going to be, I guess the reason why I point that out, 13, is that if we do, there's actually a chance where you see the real reason for a rally in the bond market would be a flight to safety. In other words, if we get the stock market really starting to get hit hard, whether it be because of earnings or some geopolitical thing, whatever it might be, the bond market would rally. In other words, the TLT would rally and yields would go down because of flight to safety, because people would say, oh my gosh, things are really getting bad, I'm going to buy bonds. And so in other words, instead of the bond market leading the stock market, it would be the stock market leading the bond market. So when you get my point is when you get a flight to safety move, you see interest rates and stock prices go down together, not in opposite directions. So we need to stay very, very nimble right here. But I do think that, yes, I totally agree that this market is getting very oversold for price, very overbought on yield. And later, as I mentioned, we have a bullish bet on the TLT in the chat room. And I think you'll see a relief rally. But I think it'd be more of a tradable rally that lasts a couple of weeks rather than one that signals the absolute top for interest rates. And I guess my point is I do think rates will head higher before long.
Thank you so much for all that.
Yeah. Okay. Real good stuff there. And Matt, one of the things that you were talking about there with guidance, we actually had some news here out of Lululemon raising their Q4 EPS review or EPS view. So they're actually raising their guidance. That actually caused Lululemon to trade up here in the pre-market. Looks like all of those gains have evaporated. So to your point there about this being important, I would agree with you. I think we're actually already seeing some data to confirm that. So, okay, Matt, really, really good stuff here this morning. And just an absolute awesome job in your chat room over the holiday season. You've been absolutely killing it. We really thank all of the time that you give us here. Have a great rest of your week, all right?
You too. Just one other thing. Watch Bitcoin, that 90 to 91,000 level. That's the neckline of a head and shoulders pattern. If it breaks below that, we got a real problem. Yep. However, we also know that one of the most bullish things are failed head and shoulders patterns. So if you see a big bounce off of it, and we obviously if we push the new highs, that'll be very bullish. But so stay very nimble. But we break below 90, I guess 90,000 being the round number being the key one. You break much below that. Not only is that a problem for Bitcoin near term, that means nothing about the long term structure. Could go a lot higher over time, but near term. But it also has an impact on because it's a key risk asset. And we break below that, it's not going to be negative for Bitcoin, but I think for risk assets in general. So keep a close eye on that as we move through the week.
Okay, really, really good stuff and some bonus stuff there at the end on that Bitcoin chart. This head and shoulders is actually something that we've been checking in on a daily basis there. So really good stuff there, Matt. Matt, take care. Have a great rest of your week, and we're going to follow up with you on Monday.
Sounds great. Talk to you next week, guys.
All right, take care. That is Matt Maley. Really, really great stuff here. 13. I feel like every week we're going to get golden nuggets there. And let me tell you something. Like I said, I had to highlight it. I just had to, because there was some hooting and hollering going on last week with some of those trades that Matt had lined up for the group. Just absolutely phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal stuff. While we were talking, PHIO is going ham. Take us up to speed here. What's going on?
Right when we had Matt come on and start talking, this started to get its next move set up here. Was putting another bull flag in, and then we just kind of broke through that. Been trading up all the way to 739. Still a little ways away from where I think we need to be in order to get to some of these dumber levels where we start to 2x. I need to see it get into the 8s. That's going to be the very, the least it has to do in order for me to be like, okay, we could go to 16 now. So let's see what happens here. It might pull back a little bit. This is, a pretty extended run here over the past 15 minutes. If it comes back in and it holds, let's say it holds above, 565, that might be a good indication that this goes higher, unless it just does it right here. Putting new highs now.
I was going to say, this is trying right now, 750. Wow, it just deleted that size. I got 7. Boy, I can't even. This is moving too fast. Sorry, I think I have 770. Oh, and then right there to 8. Did it print 8? It did, didn't it?
799 is what I got, but we'll just call it 8.
Okay.
Remember, 1.68 million shares in the float. We ran to 8 pretty quickly. Now it's through. It could come down just as fast. So just be careful here. Don't be afraid to raise your stops and take profits.
Okay. Here we go at 8. PHIO. See what this does here. Tell you what, volume looking really, really good on this. This is one of the better plays here today. Mm-hmm. Kappa, we're actually on the backside of this volume move. Kappa did come into that VWAP here and has held it. It's trying to bounce. I want to see this volume tick back up, though.
DJT also having a nice day as well.
Here you go on DJT, right to that other fib level. Here, if I go back, so here's your daily chart. This is where I initially drew that fib, and this was as clear as day, right? We drew it from the dead bottom to the big run up there. All of these fib levels seem to be in play here. Watch for a potential breakout. I've got this at 38.42 on that fib level. Let's just call that 38.5. That definitely an upside target if we can break that. We actually just recently, we were in kind of like a downtrend. Today, we've snapped that. So with your inauguration or with the inauguration catalyst that you had talked about earlier, maybe DJT can get rolling here.
We can find out how silly the market gets with DJT if it goes up and finds a top around 45 or 47.
Well, we have and 45, that's another fib level, by the way, on this chart here.
It's an important psych level for the stock.
Yeah, that's true. 45. Yeah, of course.
And there goes FIO. Goodbye, FIO.
Goodbye, FIO, as we are above 9 here. Oh my goodness. So we hooked one. So I'm not in this one, unfortunately, but this is a decent one. Hooked another 100% runner here on the show. I feel like we do this all of the time.
Oh yeah, it's a 400% runner at this point. This is awesome.
Yep, just a huge move here. Cyril, really quickly here, I'm disappointed to see this. I'm an ONDS bag holder. I'm disappointed because we had talked about this a lot. We had talked about the trading plan here. We had talked about the big move that it has made recently. You can see we've retraced some of that move. To me, this is healthy action. Please make sure that you have your risk parameters figured out. Please make sure that you're not oversizing yourself here on risk. I've tried to be as clear as possible with my own position on this because I have a long-term time horizon on this. We did have news here this morning. Ron Stern appointed to the board of directors of Ondas Holdings to support the expanded growth plan. This expanded growth plan is part of my long-term thesis on this. So I'm waiting for higher prices here. Obviously, we're going through some volatility right now. Stock was down on Friday. It's down another 8% here today. This is after a huge run from penny stock territory. So just make sure you keep yourself protected here. I will say, though, my long-term thesis unchanged. So I'm going to try and not react to this volatility. Hopefully you're able to get some gains on there. I know we've had others in this chat that have made quite a pretty penny off ONDS. Look for that to continue. Okay, LITM. This was a former penny stock that has now reached dollar territory on really nice volume. SLRX looks like we're trying to recapture the VWAP right here. 437 is the VWAP that I have. FIO pulled off that 9 spot. This is coming in from the highs.
Wow, 950, yeah. It seems when you look at a daily chart in this one that it does run into a lot of resistance when it gets into the 9 area. You can see that back from earlier in last year, February. 950 seems to be where it starts to get the sellers start to come in.
And I would also say 10. It looks like there's some resistance there as well.
But that was a nice move. I don't know that it's done or not, but it will. Let's see here. Let's take a look at a smaller time frame. It's very extended away from the ZMAs, so I think this would have to come back in. Let's see if it can get support. Let's start at 750, and if it can't do that, let's see if it holds above VWAP. But this thing is very extended right now, so it could come back in.
Okay. It looks like it's Lions calling. Is this going to 20? I think we're just throwing out crazy price targets now at this point. We'll see if FIO ends up going here. Nice move to $9 there. The volume still looks good. It really, until this volume dies down, I don't think this is off the table for anything. I'm not even going to throw shade on Lions price target, because if this volume sticks around, this thing can be whatever it wants. What were you going to say there?
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, if we get that 16, then sure, it can go to 20. Sure.
Bitcoin continuing its march higher here. Bitcoin 93,200 on the futures. This represents almost a 4,000 point swing off the lows that we printed just earlier this pre-market. So that bounce is continuing. I would look for some of the Bitcoin stocks to keep moving with that, like MicroStrategy, for example. How's that doing? MicroStrategy looks like this wants to continue to break out from 320.
So do you have a 5-minute chart of SPY?
Sure.
So initially, well, not initially, but we were looking for where we might find resistance. It went right to that 5% pullback level and turned around. It looks like it went exactly to that 5% pullback level. That level is 578 and 62 cents. We went there just about 20 minutes ago.
SPY looking like this is actually this intraday 5-minute chart looking like this is trying to set up to continue bouncing. Looks like it held the VWAP on that corrective move there. We'll see if this is able to end up pushing higher here.
SLRX looks like it's trying to take out VWAP here.
I've got it. Yep. I've got it actually taking VWAP out as we speak here. There it goes. And now it's starting now. Okay. Volume, not what we wanted to see. I wanted to see more volume there. Maybe it's still pouring in.
That's a good enough move for me. I mean,
yeah. Well, the move in the price here is great. I'm looking at the volume stick here as kind of a trigger. I'd like to see this volume stick be a little bit higher, but boy, oh boy, we just went, this is going to halt here. 519, right?
It looks like it's trying to.
Yep. And this is going to halt here if it holds. 519.
And halted.
And halted. Really good, timely call there in SLRX. My goodness. I mean that was literally breaking the VWAP when you had mentioned it. Now we're in an upside halt here.
Oh yeah.
Jay here. This is we're kind of talking about this one earlier. We didn't mention cost as much. Jay here mentioning Lulu and Costco had good news, and both of them got sold. So, Jay, first of all, Jay, on the surface, this is exactly right. We actually just talked about this here with Matt. This was a raise in their Q4 guidance, a nice raise too, that had the stock trading higher here. This good news got completely sold off. And then the Costco, we also had the same store sales news for December last week that caused this stock to pop. This sold off and kind of deleted some of those gains. So Jay, I would turn this around. I would ask you, is this a harbinger of more things to come here? Good news getting sold into? Do you think that are we expecting just more selling? or is this something that you're watching to see if this continues? Would like to know how you're thinking about that going forward here. Yeah.
It looks like DJT, and the volume is not great, so I don't know if it will, but it looks like it's trying to make a run for 40. I don't know if it's going to happen, though. It looked like at the moment when I was trying to get in there that it was starting to try and break this 38.50 level, but now it's coming back in. Maybe it holds VWAP, but I'm kind of waiting to see if that's what DJT is going to do, if it's going to try and make a run for 40 or not.
Okay, it looks like it is just kind of stopping there at that 38. I've got this marked off at 38.44, but realistically, this is 38 and a half. That's going to be one of your fib levels in there. It looks like it's kind of stopping right there, at least for the time being.
So why did Lululemon come out with these numbers? Because these aren't earnings.
Yeah,
these predictions.
Yeah, this is just Lululemon expects revenue above the range. So Lululemon updates revenue and earnings expectations for the fourth quarter ahead of this conference, the ICR conference. And that is that conference that starts today and runs through Wednesday.
Okay.
So I think what's going on here, 13, is that they're going to be presenting at a conference. They want to be able to say some things. So you better PR some of this, some of the revenue guidance ahead of time. Right now, this is public information. Now, if you you can answer more questions. Maybe, I don't know what the format of this conference is going to be, but you can answer more questions there. You can talk a little bit more about this. I would imagine that that's why they did this. To me, the takeaway from this is what Jay commented on earlier. This was good news that immediately got sold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of wondering, why would they even announce this 2 months ahead of their actual earnings date unless they're trying to just get the stock to move up? It seems like just a simple PR pump. There's something fishy about this. I can't put my finger on it, but I don't. This doesn't make enough sense for me to be like, oh, okay, it's great. I feel like there's something at play here than wanting to put this figure out 2 months ahead of their earnings.
I mean, fair enough, man. I mean, fair enough, and we'll see where that ends up going here. Again, the PR here kind of ties it to this conference. Is that the actual reason? Is there something else going on here that we don't know about? We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. Frank, yeah, I did hear from that individual. I'll look forward to adding someone else to the happy hour. So she should be all set. Okay. What else we got here? I think a couple of you were calling Kappa. I know we're waiting on the SLRX halt here. Kairos Pharma, this is actually still building above the VWAP. That's looking pretty good. Sage, this is holding in here. The selling volume that we saw here didn't cause this to break down. Holding in here at VWAP, we'll see here on Sage. We look around here and see Costco is lower, but holding a little bit lower. Apple, interestingly enough, there was some news here on Apple. Apple lower in the pre-market, took another leg lower here. We did have some news here. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Nope.
Real quick, while you're doing that, yeah. I was asked about what my thoughts on XOSS and NVD are, and it's just as simple as, well, if you're just look at the market sentiment when it comes to semiconductors. We've had a huge run in that, and now we're really starting to sell off. So until we start seeing some like bottoming, maybe in NVIDIA, it's probably going to continue to go down. Now, as far as bottoming in NVIDIA goes, we've got a lot of different thoughts as to where the price could bottom out at. Some people think it's going to be somewhere between 27 and 28. I've heard 120 as well, down near the 200-day SMA. I even have 117 marked off. So how much we sell off, some folks have this dialed in probably through options better than I do, but I think it's a guess at this stage where the bottom is at this point. With the and we could get a clear indication of that as we start to get into earnings season with the banks coming out. So just a couple of things to watch for, but I think that until we start seeing a change in sentiment from semis, we're probably going to end up seeing some more weakness.
Real quick, while you were talking about that, SLRX opened, traded up to 623 and rehalted to the upside. So we are same boat here. SLRX running second halt. Actually, I beg your pardon. This is the fourth halt of the day, according to Benzinga Pro. This one to the upside here, 623. That Apple, there was just another kind of report. Apple might be losing market share. Same deal that we've heard here on Apple. This is continuing to move lower here. OMBS gave up 2. That's unfortunate.
For SLRX, it looks like there could be. It could run to somewhere between 660 and 7. I think that. I mean, we're almost there. So if we go through 7, that might be a good indication that it's time to sell. You look in a daily chart, the RSI is almost at 90. So out of this halt, we might get this pop and drop. So that'd be something I'd be cautious for with this.
Okay. All right. So here you go on that. Now that last halt here was a 5-minute, and we are expecting the same thing here. So we are expecting this to open at 10:31:30 Eastern time. SLRX.
VRME is right up against the VWAP again, trying to push through it with some volume expansion. It should get it, but if we don't get that volume expansion, it probably will get rejected here.
And VRME did a really good job taking out that VWAP there. Now, that initial move that we saw on volume, we want to see this volume kick back up here. Good spot on the chart. Some more volume expansion here. I think you could be good on this one. Yeah, Izzy, good job on that trade there. Good job booking gains on that one.
If VRME can't break above, well, I think you have it above your VWAP, right?
I do. Yeah. Okay. That's in pro here. Let me see where it's at in the prop. I have it above VWAP in both.
Okay, because it's going to need to. It does need to move up higher than 375 because this is starting to form a bit of a bearish pattern here. So be careful with VRME. If we can't get and hold above VWAP here, then I think we go much lower.
I'm seeing a graphic here on CNBC. 10-year Treasury 4.79, so that's higher here. The 10, the 5, and the 30 are all higher. Chewy rolling over a little bit. Let Chewy come in a little bit. That would be a really good ad. Bitcoin, it looks like that push to the highs starting to slow down here as well. Bitcoin rolling over a little bit. 92,445 on the futures chart there.
Well, so far that 5% pullback level has been the big resistance because it is sending SPY lower. Now, it might be coming to a bit of a support area. Let me double check and see if that's what I'm getting here. So maybe support comes somewhere in the 575 handle if we continue lower here.
And we are continuing lower as we speak. I was just flipping through some tickers, but let me bring SPY up here as well. So it looks like this is that 578. That was that pullback level, the 5% pullback level that you mentioned.
That was a 5% pullback level. That's off the all-time highs of 609.07. And on Friday, we went right down to there and rebounded. Had a nice, strong rebound off that level into the close. And then after that, we started leaking, went sideways around just under 580. And then today, we woke up to having fallen beneath the pullback level, and now it is resistance.
Okay. See if SPY can hold here. All right, it's 10:31. We are expecting SLRX to open up shortly here.
And we'll see if we get that pop and drop. Let's take a look at Costco here because I would like to own this at some point. Oh, what a lovely rejection of the 50-day SMA. That looks pretty bearish.
You want me to go to there? We go. SLRX is open and trying to move higher.
Yep.
So so you got that pop. Now, do we get the drop?
Here we go. We've got to find out if we're going to get the drop or if the bulls are going to take this higher.
7 was the high print there.
Mm-hmm. There's
your drop.
Well, let's see. This candle's got a few minutes in it.
Yeah. There's a drop.
And who knows, this drop might even get bought, but so far this is the price action I was looking for.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, you had 4 halts here, and that thing was still upside halting, and you popped out of this halt too. So, good. If you traded SLRX, hopefully you have that all booked up here. Good stuff though. Really quickly here, stay focused. Asking Ryan, how long has it taken Chewy to recover? Recover from what or from where? I guess I would ask. Yeah, so stay focused. I don't think I know what you're asking here. If you're asking to like recover like price action, I mean it's taken a while. Like let me go to my my bigger chart here. Like this was before this thing really entered that CHWY. Oh, come on. Come on, type the right thing. What's going on? So this has, post COVID, this thing was testing 100. So this has really kind of been in a downtrend since the end of 2021, right? That November of 2021, this thing did nothing but sell off. Now, frankly, it has not recovered that level yet. We still have a lot of work to do. That would be a double from here to actually get to that level. The big thing for me on Chewy, the notable event was the earnings here at the end of May. Things just seemed different. The stock just traded different. That's where we're in the current uptrend. That pretty much ended the downtrend that we were in. So if that's what we were going to say, so the end of 2021 till 2024, May 2020, that took almost 3 full years to turn that around.
Yeah, I'm looking for a breakout of 39. That's a roaring kitty high. That looks, I mean, it seems like it's got a really good scallop setup where we just made that high, came back in, continue to rise up, and it's going to just break out of that 39 level. That would be the price action I'm looking for. Also, yeah, now SLRX really coming in now.
Now the high there, the 2023 high was from early February. We still haven't got all the way back there. We have recovered a bunch of that. That moved from what, $53 down to 15. That got chopped in half and then chopped in half again almost. We've since recovered that. I like this. I just don't have a position. I'm still kind of stalking one for that. Okay, let me go back to the main workspace here.
Also wanted to mention with Costco, this has got a really nice several technical setups happening here. So I'm seeing a formation of a head and shoulders pattern here in Costco on the daily chart. That rejection of the 50-day SMA really kind of helped form the right shoulder in a nice prominent way. So now we're looking to see if 900 will hold up. And I think if we lose 900, we get a resolution of this head and shoulders down to probably down to as low as 860.
All right, I'm going to draw the head and shoulders that I think you're referring to here.
Yep. Nope.
Right in here.
No. The one we just tried to retake the 50 is the shoulder.
Okay,
I consider what you just drew there is a little bit more part of the head.
Okay, so like right
there you
here.
go. Yeah.
Okay, I drew it a little janky, but we got it.
That's okay. Sometimes my shoulder does this too.
Well, I'll tell you what. let me say this: if this did trade down to your 860, I could be talked into adding to this at 860 as well.
Oh, I'm sure there'd be no problem talking you into that. You love this company. But I think I would be a big buyer. Down around 860, absolutely.
So we'll see here on Costco. I'll tell you what, the strategy of adding Costco on weakness, that has worked over time. That has definitely worked. Good luck, hustle and bustle. Have a great day. Thanks for all of your support here today. LOL, Izzy. Not that, Ron. We'll see. We'll see if it ends up helping, though. SLRX, this did pull back. That was a really quality call on the pop and drop. Hopefully, y'all folks traded that correctly. Did have a fairly decent setup there with some decent gains if you're able to take them quick enough.
Getting a question of from Edwards. How low will EIX go? Hot sales. We're down to the October 2023 low. We're actually beneath it now. Next area where the buyer stepped in, according to past price action, was around 54.50. We have rebounds in March of 21, August of 21, and October of 22, all in that same area. So that could be a really, if it doesn't reverse soon, that's where I would think that the price ends up going, is reversing down at around 54.50. The RSI on this thing is probably one of the lowest RSIs I've seen in a long time. It's 8.5. You tell me if you've seen one lower. Maybe
I haven't.
Maybe
And
coffee, but that's the only one that comes to mind.
which one?
Luckin Coffee.
Oh, Luckin Coffee. I don't even remember what the RSI reading was. I do remember that being awfully low.
Yeah.
No, and you know what's funny about this 13? We just heard Matt tell us earlier the Rigetti trade. He had said it was the opposite, right? He said the RSI was the most overbought that he had ever seen. Matt's had a long, successful career in this. And that was the impetus for the trade. This looks like maybe the opposite of that. Amanda saying he could be talked into writing a poem about Costco. Buying at 860 is a given. I would prefer a haiku. Maybe I'll draft a haiku about Costco for you, and we'll run it by you and see if it gets the approval. The poem approval. I'm not much of a poet. Thankfully, I know it, but we'll see. I'll take a stab at that, and we'll see. Yeah, I'm sorry, 13. I'm doing my best out here.
Oh, that's a good mention. Keep an eye on Fun, PHUN, because DJT is still pushing up. Might get that $40 level that I was talking about earlier.
DATS is rolling here and rolling on volume, by the way.
SLRX is trying to push up higher. Keep an eye also on PHIO. This is still looking like it's trying to set up for another move up. VRME is also trying to push above VUP. So we have multiple stocks here that are looking like they are trying to make their next move up for some decent trading action here.
Okay. Real quickly here, Fubo. I say Fubo getting mentioned here in the chat. What do you think about Fubo? Is this a dip buy? So to me, Fubo has always been a trading vehicle. I've never had a long-term view on this. Looking at the chart here, we are in trouble, right? This area right here that we're at right now, let's call it 430. We're currently at 435. Let's just call it 430. I would want this to hold. I would not necessarily be a buyer unless we came in again and showed some type of support here. We had recent news here with Fubo, which is what's causing all of this stuff to move here. We had that news with Disney. Let me see if I can go back here and find it. Fubo shares are trading higher after no, that was the upgrade. Oh my gosh, where are you? Why can't I find it? Disney, Fox, Warner to disband Venue Sports in wake of a legal settlement with Fubo. Now Fubo down 15% here. I can't tell you where that buy spot is. I will say if it loses this area right here, just from a chart perspective, I'm concerned.
I could take a stab at where that buy spot might be. And it's probably wrong, but this is where I think it might be. 385. You want to put a level on there and look at a daily chart, it might be come clear, but that's where I think the buy spot is. And I'm not trading this, so I have no stake in it. So if I'm wrong, it's not going to affect me. So take that for what you will. But just looking at the chart, the daily chart looks like 385 might be the buy spot. On the continued downside.
So here is your 385 plotted on a daily chart. You're right. This just kind of jumps off the page. Yeah. Pretty easy to see here where that would be on Fubo. Yes, no trade for me on Fubo here. Just continue to move to the lows here.
Yeah, Crow, you're right. Luckin Coffee does trade OTC now at 25, but when it was getting unwound from the fraud that was happening with the finances. That thing was like less than $1 at one point before it started getting bought back up. This is one of the craziest things, and I was still pretty early into this this trading thing, so it was like, wow, what's going on here? But that was a wild day. PDD, any opinion? Pinduoduo.
Here, I'm gonna put that here on a daily chart. I'm gonna let you take that. I'm gonna step away for 1 sec, but I will give you my opinion on that when I come back here. Here's your daily chart, BRB 13.
Okay, so Pinduoduo, to me, it looks like this thing is in a downtrend. We had a death cross back in August, and it has not recovered since then. It did, briefly trade higher on a rebound, but it came right back beneath it, and looks like it's going to head lower. Now, the support that it has from that sell-off is down near what is this? Down near 88. So that would be a big level to watch for if we see continued weakness in PDD. If this goes down to 88, that would be where I would expect there to be a rebound. If we do not get that, this is going to probably end up going. I can't say for sure how low, but I would think that low 70s, maybe high 60s, that this could go if we lose 88. That would be my thought. It seems like there is going to be some type of rebound in between that price action, because the RSI is at 42, so we're on the the lower side, but it's not oversold yet. Trying to recapture the 20-day SMA, not having a great time doing so. So I think that an 88 test is coming before we see upside, and if we don't get that reversal, then yeah, we're going to hit those lower prices.
Okay, so Pinduoduo here. This is one of the best trading vehicles in that Asian ADR space. Like we talk about when China news drops and it affects Baba and Baidu. PDD, one of those here. This one makes for one of the better traders here. This one definitely volatile. I mean, look, this recent run up that we did from September to October of last year. This thing was gappy. It was all over the place. It had some similar gappy experience on the way back down. 13, you highlighted the area, the sole area that I wanted to highlight here right now. It's this 88. It's this low here from, I guess this was August 27th, excuse me. We've recently been trying to come up off that low. You can see I actually drew a trend line on here that we snapped recently. This sure looks like we're going to retest that 88 level. I would say if that breaks here, I wouldn't be shocked if 60 prints came eventually. Maybe we get another bounce spot here at 80. We'll see what the RSI looks like. This thing never really recovered from its death cross. It tried to, but it never really recovered from its death cross. Now we're kind of building beneath the 500-day here, and we've talked a lot about some of the China headwinds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure where these go here. That level, that 88 level that you were talking about here, I think if we break that, you could see some more downside here on Pinduoduo.
Yeah, and I didn't even mention the tariffs affecting companies like this. This is a Chinese they own Temu. So if you know Temu, you understand that they're a big e-commerce company, and tariffs are going to adversely affect this in a very, very negative way. So it doesn't look great for PDD at this point. Might be some bounces. Maybe we get some some positive upside as a result of the new bills that China's issuing on the 15th. So that might help lift their market. I'm not confident though. A lot of headwinds for China.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
DJT approaching 40.
One more thing that I've seen recently on X, I've seen a lot of ads for Temu products in my feed, like way more than recently. And part of me wonders if you're trying to unload as much as possible before some of this tariff stuff gets discussed. I could understand that. And it's big things like full bedroom sets of like the bed and the dressers, and then the big rolling cabinets that you would put in your garage for tools and other things, like big items that are, you ain't gonna return those items. That's right. For sure. By the way, Tesla here ripping.
Yep, DJT just hit 40.
Britt saying, "What's the BRRT? I'm out of the loop." I thought maybe you were talking about the temperature, because like it's freezing here, -10 wind chill here in Chicago. Can't wait to go for my run in a little bit. Jay Walker saying smoked tuna is doing the BRRT. I'll tell you what, I'm out of the loop too, Britt. I'm old though, so what's BRRT?
That's the machine printing money, isn't it?
The money printer, but what's the T for? Yeah, but what's the T though? Like,
well, when it finishes printing, it usually has a shut-off sound.
Okay, I look. Thanks for drawing me a map. Sorry, I'm still out of the loop too. Britt, don't feel bad. I guess I would say I have no effing idea what's going on.
And I'm guessing too, but I think that's what he's talking about. He's talking. Yes, exactly. He's printing money counter.
Okay, and NVS is like, you guys are idiots. This is an easy one to figure out.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Jeez. Yeah, it's the money printer. Okay, at least we figured that one out. We're aware of what the money printer is, right? That one we got.
SLRX had another pop up to 720 this time and came right back in. So it looks like 7 is really putting up. There's a lot of sellers at 7. So Maybe if it moves up again and tries to retake 7, it's more successful this time. But keep in mind that sellers have been stepping in at 7 on SLRX. FIO trying to push up now after trading lower. Needs to clear 850 in order for it to go higher, and looks like we're trying to take off right now. So see what happens.
Also, DATS, which we mentioned earlier, this volume really picked up when we got to the VWAP. We're moving above the VWAP now. Volume is maintaining here. I would say 640 is going to be that upside target. We'll see if we get that there on DATS.
Take care, G-Man.
Izzy, you're all over that. G-Man, take care of yourself. Jacob on Fanji, or Jacob on FIO. I read your last name and the ticker at the same time and screwed it up somehow.
Looks like VRME is trying to make another attempt at breaking out of the VWAP. Volume needs to be better than this.
Don't play, Ryan. You know how to open PDFs. Well, at least I have that going for me. Sage kind of holding in there. Here's your DJT that you talked about. That did take out that fib level and is moving higher. What was that next fib level at? Let's see. The next one here is at 44.68. Guess we could call that 44.5 to 44.75.
Oh, it wants 45. Yeah.
It
wants 45.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a big psych level for this stock.
Makes a lot of sense. Amazon did come off the bottom. Apple looks like that held the bottom. Tesla having one of the better days in some of the, you know what we have not looked at yet today is NVIDIA. I blame myself, but I don't really think that we've pulled NVIDIA up a lot here. This also coming up off that 130 level. White House's decision to restrict AI chip exports is the headline that's going on here. NVIDIA closing the gap only down 2.2% now here.
That could mean lower revenues for them since they're now restricting more sales to China and other adversaries.
And then the other thing that we have here, let me go back to this chart that I've got. Let's do NVDA. Let's chart this here a little bit. Okay, so looks like now we're kind of, I'm going to tentatively put this trend line on here. I don't know how much I'm going to trust this, but here we tentatively have another uptrend. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd be looking for with NVIDIA today is whether or not we fill the gap that we created between Friday and today.
And now that gap fills at what, 135-ish? That was you got?
I got 134.22.
Okay, 134.22. Yeah, that's the bottom of that candle. Yep, good stuff there, 13.
Yep, so thank you. So that's what I'd be looking for there. Could even trade higher, but if it goes any higher, then you run into the 20-day SMA, which that might provide some resistance as well. So I think there's a lot of resistance levels that has coming up, but I think that it still could end up filling that gap first.
That's above the pre-market high. So good on you folks. And actually, we're currently on a volume spike that's driving this higher. Good on you folks who are watching this one. We talked about this right at a view. I opted not to take this one. I got 2 trades here today. They're both on SLRX and they're both green. I didn't trade this DATS move. This one real good. This probably would have been better than the other 2 trades I made, frankly. DATS, this is shout out to you for keeping this one on watch here. I know we had what a wild day there on Friday. It looks like we're trading back up towards 7 here. DATS.
Looks like FIO wants to retake 8 and go higher. Maybe even 8. It looks like 850 might even be a bigger resistance area, but FIO's trying to move up. It is trying. FIO been the best trading vehicle for me today. Oh, here we go. VRME. This is trying to recapture VWAP, so this might also be able to get going here. Volume needs to be better than this one. I keep saying that about VRME, but it's trying. There might be.
We had that initial volume surge right at the open, but it's been kind of disappointing since then.
Yeah. Yep. So just SLRX, FIO, and VRME. Those are the ones that look the greatest right now.
Yep. And then Jay, you were mentioning earlier, it seems that the value names were working better. You had mentioned CVX. CVX also, they had a PR here. What?
No, keep going because I like Chevron. I like it.
No, and yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was actually mixing this up with CVS. CVX here, this of course Chevron, this is higher here. Let me go through some of the other tickers that you had mentioned here real quick. UNH, we talked a little bit about insurance kind of being out of favor here. UNH, that's had a recent down move here. This is stronger. Earnings in 3 days. You got any thought on UNH for earnings? Curious to know. Maybe we'll ask Anne Marie about this tomorrow. Let me add this to the list here real quick.
You have earnings tomorrow? It says 3 days from
now. No. We have Anne Marie tomorrow
to
set up the earnings trade for this in 3 days. Sorry if I was unclear about that.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you correctly.
Dan, so this is a good. We're sorry, 13. Let me jump in here again. This is a good piece of feedback here. Dan is saying, where can we see which stock they are trading right now? Would love to see what they are trading. So this might be something that we can look into adding here. Here's one of the problems, Dan, and you folks need to be aware of this. Some of the trades that we take here are extremely fast pointed trades, and we're not going to be able to throw those up here. What we normally do is we normally have like a basket of stocks that we're constantly talking about and then revisiting throughout the course of the day. I'll try and make a better effort to make that more obvious here. And then we do have some changes to the stream coming in the future. So in terms of open positions, we'll see what we can do there. At the end of the day, Dan, if you're unsure, you can always ask us. We'll tell you what we're day trading here any day that we do this.
Yeah, and even though we might not be able to show you the trades that we're doing because there's a delay on the stream, so I really would prefer not that people follow us into trades because due to the delay, the move might be over by the time that you see it. So yeah, it could get a lot of people really hurt. But we are doing things like, hey, this is setting up, this is about to do this. So we are providing some information about trades that you could take on your own that are about to make some moves. So we're trying to at least bring this information to you about imminent movement. And we've had a lot of success with folks in here making money off of that. So hopefully we can get that to continue.
Yeah, the process here and like the mechanics of what make a trade, that's going to be way more important than what we're actually in. At the end of the day, we're not running an alert service here, nor are we promising that we can make you money. We are trying to be very verbal about our process, our stock identification, which is what you're going to see on the screen throughout the entire show here. But yeah, just keep in mind what the end goal is here. 13, you bring up a really good point there about the delay in the stream. I wouldn't necessarily use it as an alert unless it's like a general thing of what you're looking for.
Two things I'm looking at right now, and I want to answer the questions about UNH, whether or not this is, about earnings. To me, 555 is a massive resistance level, and you have the 50-day SMA just above it. Now, the price is currently trying, is back over the 200-day SMA, and it's trying to hold above that, but it's also running into a little bit of a resistance area as well. If it does manage to get through that, I'm a little skeptical that it would be able to go any higher than 555. It just looks like a massive level. The chart on the daily looks like it's forming a bear flag. I feel like 555 is going to be a big resistance level for UNH. So we'll see if that's what we end up getting with this one.
Okay. Good stuff there. I said I was going to go vote in that poll. I never did. So let me go do that.
DJT's trading higher into 40. This thing may end up going to 45 today. Don't know if we'll get that, but this is it's less than $5 away now. Go ahead.
I was going to say really quickly, I just wanted to provide an update here. The poll is still open. The poll was, does the SPY finish the week higher, lower, or flat? Right now, we got a barn burn. We got a very, very tight race here. We got 36% saying the SPY is going to finish higher. We have 38% saying the SPY is going to finish lower, and 26% of you are saying flat. So we have a pretty even poll there. That is good to see. I like that.
I'd prefer that we end up lower. I really want to see some, a healthy correction in the market so that we can get back to, making new all-time highs again. But, I don't want to see the market just continue to extend like it has in the past year. We do need a corrective move. So I would like to see it come in. I don't know I'm going to get what I want, but that's what I would like. I need to see at least 10% correction.
Okay. Good stuff there. DJT, by the way, continuing to push here 40.50 as this thing continues to move to the upside here. Real quick, I want to comment on this. Sideshow says, I've learned so much here. The thought of leaving my day job to trade full time is starting to look doable. Maybe another year and we'll see. So I'll say this real quickly. I tried this right when I first started. Like my first couple of weeks, I was up like 10 G's and I was like, oh my God, this is a job. Reality set in shortly after that. So here's the tips that I've learned from my own life on this. Here's what I'll say. First of all, make sure that you have a substantial amount of money that you can kind of lean on. All right. This was a huge mistake for me. These amounts vary, but if I were to take a stab at this, I would say if you're going to try to make this your only job and then rely on it, I don't see how you could possibly do that without $500,000 in a trading account. You're going to have to be able to stomach drawdowns. That is a huge part of trading. The best traders I know are not green all the time. It took them a while to get there. The other thing is trading is a whole lot about psychology. Don't forget that. And the psychology of having known income from another stream is going to make you a better trader. It just is. And so even the people that do trading for a living here, they often are adding in smaller revenue streams to kind of lighten that burden. Good luck if you get this. It's always a great thing to shoot for. Just don't put yourself behind the 8 ball. Don't leave a really good job just because you're excited. You plan your way through this. And that goes for anyone that wants to make this move.
FIO exploding up to 979. One thing I'll add to what Ryan was saying, if you're going to make day trading your primary source of income, speak with a tax attorney or CPA first about how you can manage your losses and help them use that to offset your tax liabilities. It really does help to understand what you can do with your losses and gains when when it comes to taxes. It's very helpful. I would suggest that you at least seek a professional consultation from a tax accountant attorney. VRME, this one's pushing through VWAP, but FIO, that was taken off. I guess we could start talking about FIO potentially getting to stupid levels, right?
I think at this point we might as well. We do have a double top in here at about 950, but that could get blown away.
Yeah. So let's see here. If this manages to continue to push up higher and just keep on running like it's doing, I see $11 as being a potential resistance area if we push past this 10 area that we almost got to. If we manage to get through all of that, I have 1625 as a potential upside target today. Don't know if we'll end up getting it, but we've seen some of these dumb things go to 2, 3, 5x on news where it shouldn't even be doing that. So I'm saying it's possible. The float's low enough, 1.68 million. This thing could get pushed up to 1625.
Okay. Good stuff there on file. Okay, folks, it is 11 o'clock here. That is going to do it for us. Another really good start to the day here. Really good start to the week. It's a good start to the day every day that we're here together. But a really good start to the week. Again, we're going to have a full week of trading here. We got economic events. We got earnings events. We got Fed members talking. We got a lot on the docket. So 13, thanks for starting it off with us here. We'll see you at happy hour and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good, folks. I'll see you then. Take care.
All right, folks. Take care. We will see you tomorrow. As always, stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll catch you in the morning.